Hello, Florida. Your favorite son and biggest baby are coming home to bring you the laughs you deserve. Everyone likes to poke fun of the Florida man. Everyone likes to use Florida as a punching bag whenever an alligator on meth eats an old person. It can happen anywhere. As a famous Floridian baby, I feel your pain. So that's why I'm coming home to let you know it's okay to be who you are. It's okay that the rest of America is scared of us. It's okay that books are illegal in our schools. It's okay whenever it gets cold it rains iguanas. I'm here to support you. So come on out. March, I'll be in North Florida, and in May, I'll be in South Florida and Orlando. It's the Invasive Species Tour. Ed Larson, me, is coming to Florida in March and May. I'm coming to Jacksonville, Panama City, Tallahassee, Marco Island, Dania Beach, Orlando, and Key West. So lock up your public subs and start singing the Miami Dolphins fight song because we're gonna party like it's Florida, baby. Tickets at eddytunes.com.
There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left. That's when the cannibalism started.
What was that?
Man, yesterday,
What happened?
I know you guys are going to be, listen,
Tell me about it.
I'm so excited to finally tell you this. It finally happened to me. I was on my Toto praying, and do you ever have, I know people don't necessarily like it when I start with anything about my bodily functions.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start, I'm not going to go into it deep.
It's not necessarily. It's they just plain don't like it.
It's whatever. But
There's a couple that like it.
There's a couple of people that like it.
Yeah.
But you know when you're having a,
Filthy, dirty little fuckers.
you know when a duke's too hard?
Lick your lips.
But you know what I mean? When a duke's too hard?
Yeah.
When it's too difficult to get out, or
Yes.
when it's too physically hard.
Or physically hard.
Yeah.
You
So
let it cook too long.
in the middle of this, I black out. And all of a sudden, I'm in this tunnel of light. And I'm going through, I see it come back and forth, like the wash and all this kind of stuff, like all this energy's come this
It's your
way.
first anal cum, isn't it?
I might have come so hard that I turned to death. I went into death. I'm death mode. And did you guys know Jesus is black?
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Crazy,
That's
dude.
nuts.
He
I
showed
thought
up.
he wasn't real.
No, it was like he showed up and he's
That's what I
like,
was.
"Yeah, me, dude." And I was just like, "What?" And he said, "Guess what, dude? Be gay."
Yeah,
And I was
wow.
like, "No, what, really?" And he's just like, and then he bent over and started sucking his own penis, his own
amazing.
extended
That's
penis.
crazy.
It came up through his robes.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was so beautiful?
How big was it?
Normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I felt like the
But pretty.
carpenter's like the carpenter's cut. Yeah. It has to be a useful one.
Yeah,
and
it takes a carpenter to give a good circumcision.
It does. It does. But then, what I thought was truly beautiful, the penis itself, Asian.
Wow.
Oh, interesting. I thought it'd be great if his penis was shaped like a cross.
He didn't nodules.
Welcome to the last podcast on the left, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Marcus Parks. I'm here with the sacrilegious Henry Zabrowski.
I have been chosen as the vessel of the message of sucking your own penis is the only way to know thyself.
And we have Ed Larson.
That's right. I'm still waiting for all the evidence. They could be innocent.
You know what? And that's the smartest take I've heard.
That's the smartest take.
Because he's right. They've only had 2 trials.
Yeah.
That they've both been convicted.
Yeah, it was a COVID trials are very weird.
You're right.
You
Yeah,
know,
Zoom
it's hard
trials.
to get a good jury in there.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially over Zoom, especially over Skype.
Yeah.
Before we had Zoom.
It's hard to translate all that stuff through.
It is hard. So today, we're here. We're here at the conclusion. Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, part 4. We're going to find out just how guilty these motherfuckers are.
Super guilty. I just went and listened to 6 hours of the coroner talking.
Oh, yeah?
Guess what, man?
Boring?
He needs new material.
Yeah. These coroners, they're never camera ready.
No, dude, I'm just saying.
Except Dr. G.
Who's that?
There was a whole show, a reality show about a medical examiner named Dr. G, in which they use actual people as the corpses. Not, of course, the actual corpses, but, they use actors to play the corpses.
Oh.
And it's a lot of old people they're trying to figure out the cause of death, so it's just a bunch of naked old people getting manhandled by actors.
That's kind of fun.
It is really, really fun. And the G stood for Godzilla. Dr. Godzilla. Shooting the fire flames.
So when we last left Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, Lori's fourth husband, Charles, had just been murdered by Lori's psychopathic open mic comedian brother, Alex Cox. Since Lori was now unfettered by marital demands, she was free to finally move to Rexburg, Idaho, a.k.a. the New Jerusalem, where Chad Daybell had been gathering his faithful followers in anticipation for the end times. There was still, however, 3 people standing in the way of Lori and Chad being together fully. Lori's 2 children, 16-year-old Tylee and 7-year-old JJ, as well as Chad's wife of over 30 years, Tammi Daybell.
So how long did she wait after Charles was killed before she moved to New Jerusalem?
7 weeks.
Oh, okay.
They had been kind of going back and forth and visiting because that's where all the PAP conferences were.
Oh, how close is that to 40 days?
Yeah.
So biblical.
It's very close.
Yeah. Now, the theory is that Chad Daybell wanted complete control over Lori, and that wasn't going to happen until both of Lori's children from previous marriages were out of the picture. In my opinion, though, Lori wanted the kids gone just as, if not more, than Chad. But that does bring up a few questions. See, if you'll remember, 7-year-old JJ wasn't even Lori's biological child. JJ was blood related to Charles Vallow, so Lori could have easily shuffled responsibility for JJ over to JJ's biological grandmother, Kay Woodcock.
She specifically asked for him.
In that same vein, Lori could have unloaded Tylee onto any number of people in her immediate family. Her eldest son, Colby, certainly would have taken Tylee in rather than see her die, and even Lori's youngest sister, Summer, seemingly the only sane member of the Cox family, said she would have happily taken care of Tylee until Tylee was old enough for college. And so the question is, why did Lori and Chad have to kill the kids at all?
It's fun. That's why, Marcus.
Well, personally, I think it comes down to 2 possibilities. As I said last episode, JJ and Tylee might have known incriminating details about the murder of Charles Vallow, and Lori may have ordered Alex to kill them to supposedly protect their holy mission.
Kill the kids. Giggity gig. Sounds like a fun afternoon. See you guys.
So it's possible she really did think they were zombies.
Well, that's the thing. It may be something far more shallow than the spiritual mission.
I would concur that it is absolutely far more shallow.
See, like her mother, Lori Vallow was obsessed with appearances, and one couldn't very well be seen as a great spiritual leader of the Mormon people and a mother who abandons her children simultaneously. It's also possible that Lori wanted to prove to Chad and to herself that she could walk the walk. So it is possible that Lori killed her kids because being the mother of 2 missing children is a better look than being a neglectful mother, and killing her kids proved her dedication to her and Chad's fantasy world.
It also completes the vision within Visions of Glory. And the constant thing that is brought up about Mormon prophets in the post-us world, in the Mormon-led post-apocalypse, is that wives and children they have no purpose. They all say that each one of these major prophets loses their family as some form of Job-like sacrifice to the fatalist nature of the way God has chosen to run the post-apocalypse. So there is a little bit of that too, where they're like, actually, according to the style of the times, there's no children in our paradise.
You read Vision of Glory holes?
Yeah, no.
Full of holes. Full of holes.
That's actually, I'm really glad you brought that up. To the last tabletop book on the left, we are doing our first ever. It's just different glory holes from around the world.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how the shapes change. Italy, they're square, like ravioli.
Well, if we're talking about appearances, that does bring up another question. If Lori killed the kids because it looked better than abandoning them, then why did she keep their deaths a secret? Well, I think that question tells you quite a bit about Lori Vallow. One, I think it speaks to her as a narcissist who engaged in the highest forms of magical thinking. She did whatever she wanted in this world and believed that she was so special that if she just kept denying that anything was wrong, things would work out all on their own. But I also think, perhaps even more so, that Lori did believe Chad when he told her that the world was going to end in July of 2020. And if she just held on long enough, then the matter of the missing kids was going to be a moot point.
That's correct. I think that she thought that they had a looming deadline.
Yeah.
And they thought that this would all wash away once it all proves to be true, which it didn't. You're wrong, Chad, you bitch. See you in fucking prison. Can't wait till you get the chair. But she also had a very practical reason for killing the kids.
Yeah.
Which is to collect the Social Security checks. JJ received something like $4,000 a month, which is what she was getting as passive income. Chad also wanted this passive income. They said it in a text exchange back and forth when Charles Vallow's insurance payment didn't come to her, where she was like, don't worry, I'm still getting the $4,000 from JJ. She says it in the thing. And so that's how they can wipe them out, lie about the deaths, because you can't get Social Security checks to a dead person, right? Technically, right? And so that's the reason why you have to hide the deaths so that you can continue to get paid.
So he was $4,000 because he was severely autistic?
Severely autistic.
Wow.
And that's the other shallow version of this, which is this is my own opinion, obviously. But Lori Vallow, without the regular Botox, she's starting to look like, you remember those Reagan puppets from the old Peter Gabriel videos?
Oh, yeah.
She's starting to look like that. Like, she's really starting to look rough. And she also said she couldn't age, you remember.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. But there's a part of me that thinks that Tylee and JJ didn't fit the castable looks of the prophet's children.
And Chad did?
Yes. Chad is the Mormon elite. Chad is the Mormon vision of what a man's supposed to be. Feckless. He can't see his penis because out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And then if he's got, because that's what really protects him.
Yeah.
He looks like the cum that made him.
Exactly. Exactly. It shows that God did not waste a single seed. Just made them all come.
He looks like what Slimer looked like when he was still alive.
Yeah. You did that joke on me where I look like if the guy who plays Slimer in a gay porn version of Ghostbusters.
That's actually Eddie's joke.
Yes.
Well, I said Richard Dreyfuss if you played Slimer.
Yes. And that is what this man is. He is the Michelin tire man with a little tiny penis.
Now, what we do know is that the plan to kill Tylee and JJ began pretty soon after Lori arrived in Rexburg in July of 2019. And this was about a year before the apocalypse was due to come knocking on everyone's door. See, since JJ was severely autistic, Charles had bought him a service dog. But soon after Charles's murder, Lori put the dog up for sale, cleaning house as it were, which was more or less the first step towards her getting rid of all her remaining encumbrances.
Which is also a massive red flag, because you're not supposed to sell a service dog.
It's actually illegal.
Yes, she tried to do it on Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, just tried to sell this service dog, which they're like, doesn't JJ need the service dog? And she's like, oh, JJ's been fucking being like super cool recently. He's very independent.
What she actually said is like, well, the service dog was more like Charles's thing. It's like not really my thing.
Yeah, service dog. I got a service dog. Rambo, I made him a service dog, but he's more of a waiter.
He is. He very much is he's like a catering dog. Yeah. It'd be kind of cool if you could give like a little kid like a service dog, but it's like an attack dog.
Ooh, I'm sure that happens a lot.
Can you imagine getting a blind man, like 9 chihuahuas? If you could give him like more dogs, right? More than that'd be kind of cute. It's not the same as one service dog, but it's like 9 service dogs.
You just want like an army of dogs to just make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Seems like it would be an encumbrance.
I feel like that as if you were blind and you wanted to take it out on us.
Yeah.
Like that's what you could do. Being like, you'll have to deal with my seeing eye.
Army.
Shih Tzus.
Now, while the cops hadn't charged Alex Cox with the murder of Charles Vallow and instead believed the easier, work-free explanation of self-defense, the people in Chad and Lori's immediate circle were not so easily swayed. See, for some reason, the murder of Charles Vallow was what finally snapped podcaster Melanie Gibb out of her delusions concerning Chad and Lori's claims of divinity. Because I don't think Melanie Gibb ever really believed that their text chains wishing for the death of Charles Vallow were actually going to work. Melanie Gibb later said that while she started out as a true believer, she did anything Chad and Lori asked her to do after the murder. Not because she was a follower, but because she had become afraid that if she said no, she would be labeled as a zombie and murdered as well.
It's quite possible. It's also quite possible that she started getting real upset when they started using her as an alibi. Yeah. And I think that's what they started to do because everybody was just a removable piece that wasn't Chad or Lori.
Also, an accessory. Didn't she help steal his car?
Oh, yeah. Melanie Gibb is guilty of crimes. She should have been arrested as well. I'm actually really, really surprised that she wasn't. She's out there still, podcasting away, her with the luminaries in the podcasting world, such as Meghan Markle, Barack Obama, some of the finest podcasters out there. She's really doing it. And she very much so was a part of this conspiracy and only extricated herself when it got hot. I think that she would have, if they would have killed her husband and it brought her in on it, which is what she was angling to do, she was trying to get her husband labeled as dark. Mm-hmm. And if she had wanted to, she could have pressed it farther, but then she decided, maybe I'll get blamed.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very easy to see why she didn't go to jail because she turned state's witness.
You got to do that. Yeah. You got to flip. Yeah. You got to take that flip.
Now, once Lori moved to Rexburg, she was soon joined by her and Chad's so-called divine hitman, Alex Cox. Unlike Melanie Gibb, Alex had only gotten closer to Chad since he'd shot and killed Charles Vallow, and Chad was playing the same game with Alex that he'd played with Lori. See, while Lori had been told that she'd been the wife of important figures in Mormon history in her past lives, Alex was told that he had been a special protector to important figures, and it was Alex's job in this life to protect Lori from zombies like Charles Vallow.
Listen, you're very, very important. You remember Denzel Washington? That's you.
Okay. But from what movie?
Well, any number of his films that I'm not allowed to see. Or, that's the thing. You're the helper. You're Moroni's. Think about this. You're Moroni's valet. You help him.
Okay. All right. So Gladiator 2, Denzel Washington.
Yes. From what I've heard. Shocking Brooklyn accent.
Well, I mean, this is another cult tactic, is that all he's doing is he's telling these people that, they have lived this role in a past life, and it just so happens that the role that they lived in the past life that was very important and very cool is the exact same role that they have to live in this life. Like Lori Vallow has to be the wife of the prophet. Alex Cox has to be the protector of the wife of the prophet and also the prophet.
You have to be.
You have to be, because this is your destiny. That's the whole destiny thing.
It is your destiny. Just imagine his little fucking piglet hands. You, me, Moroni, hanging out in the post-Mormon apocalypse, sharing strangers' wives.
I hate that he's got no riz.
None.
Exactly.
He's got none, man.
No, he's got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. That's how low the bar is in Mormonism. We would clean up.
My God. I thought about it.
We just moved in. Let's abandon the episode.
I thought about it.
Let's move to Salt Lake City and let's take over that fucking town.
Man, if I were to become a Mormon, I'd be president of the church in 10 years.
Let's do it. God, let's take it. And then we flip it from the inside. We take the money. I fucking turn the entire, the opening, they have that big fountain in front of and just fill it with fucking beer. And I come out every day and I fill up my big stein being like, God says we're drinking now. They're like, yeah.
So funnily enough, we will be in Salt Lake City.
Very good plug.
In July 12th.
Last podcast on left.com.
Live from your grave.
Now, being a special protector was a hell of a lot more exciting than Alex Cox's reality. Alex Cox's reality was that he was a failed stand-up comedian who'd never gotten out of the Phoenix open mic scene and instead opted for a career as a truck driver.
Listen, I don't know if anybody ever heard this before, but have you ever had sex with a black chick?
Please stay off the CD.
Didn't you use, Alex, you used that joke last week. Did you hear that from your brother-in-law, Adam?
Parallel thinking. And honestly, I really wish that Adam would stop stealing my fucking material. All right, that's my fucking material. I'm the king of, you ever fucking Asian? You ever fuck a deaf woman?
But
that's me. That's what I do.
But there's no punchline.
Yeah, there is. Have you ever had sex with a black chick?
And
It's funny.
No, we love our truck drivers.
We do.
Ed said last week, country wouldn't run without them.
yeah.
Honk, honk. I always do the honk, honk, and I don't care if you think I'm mentally disabled.
But driving a truck is not as exciting as being the personal assassin for a central figure in the upcoming apocalypse.
Yeah.
So, with Alex at their side, Chad and Lori had someone who would carry out their dirty work without question. Now, about 8 weeks after Charles's murder, I guess it's 8 weeks, not 7 weeks.
Okay.
8 weeks after Charles's murder, Lori, Tylee, and JJ moved into a townhouse unit in Rexburg. Well, Alex Cox soon moved into the townhouse next door after quitting his truck driving job to quote-unquote protect Lori full-time. It does seem, however, that by the time the Daybell cult began building this little enclave in the Rexburg townhouses in early September, Alex had already been told about the plan to get rid of Tylee and JJ. This, of course, can be inferred from the idiotic text messages sent between Alex and Lori. On September 3rd,
Yeah, this makes me angry.
this is because this is the thing that happens with cults so fucking often, and it's especially prevalent in modern cults. I'm so fucking sick of cults getting cute.
The irony that it doesn't make it like you're not hip just because you're doing it out loud. I hate you.
Well, on September 3rd, after Alex set up the Wi-Fi for his and Lori's townhouses, he texted Lori the network name. Alex had called it anti-layman, which is, of course, a stupid Mormon thing. Layman being short for Lamanites, the bad guys in the Book of Mormon. But tellingly, the password for the Wi-Fi was too many kids, using the number 2, which is weird by itself, but not incriminating. But in response to the Wi-Fi name and password, Lori wrote, unprompted, that she and Chad were trying to, quote,
Get to the bottom of what we need to do to eliminate them completely.
which was in reference to the kids.
Well, you
Too
forget-
many kids.
You also forget right before that she had typed ha 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 so funny.
Yeah, that's
Which
right.
is true. She laughed at the too many kids, which is important because it shows that she knew exactly what he was referring to.
Yes.
Yeah, buddy. She wrote it down.
I'm dumb. He wrote it down.
They both wrote it down. She both laughed at it. The laughing at it even makes it more incriminating. Too many kids also just sounds like a Mormon YouTube family blogging channel.
Just shows that they're clearly planning the whole thing.
Very much so.
Mine is too little ham. But
Yes, of course.
yeah, so if
he
you
always
come
has.
over,
Yeah,
yeah.
he always has.
So now that Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow lived in the same town, they go on walks together on the Brigham Young University, Idaho campus, where Chad would tell Lori to be patient because Tammy was going to die in a car accident any day now.
I was downtown last week. The drivers are getting worse and worse.
Chad, however, didn't go by Lori's townhouse just yet because Lori's daughter Tylee was understandably upset about uprooting her whole life at the age of 16 because her mother believed herself to be one of God's chosen. And Chad Daybell was pretty much the symbol of everything that was going wrong in Tylee's life. But Lori would not wait long at all after moving to Rexburg before she took care of Tylee.
Lori had fashioned Tylee into a little miniature her. She was very much in love with her mom's attitude, very similar to Lori's own childhood with her mother.
Yeah.
And Tylee wanted to be in her mother's good graces a large amount. If you watch the interrogation footage of Tylee Ryan after Charles Vallow's death, she repeats the same story as Lori. They tell this whole convoluted story, the self-defense thing. But you can tell, and maybe it's just because I'm watching this stuff for so long and you're watching it with hindsight, is that you can tell she's parroting bullet points.
Yeah.
She's hitting, you can tell this is a rehearsed talk.
Yeah, and mimicking her mannerisms even.
Yeah.
Talking just like her mother. When you see the mother say the word, that's the thing that keys me in. Lori's doing her spiel and laughing and stuff. Cut to Tylee saying the same exact turns of phrases, these same exact things. She's like, oh, she's been coached, but the cops were too busy. Another day in fucking, I better go. No, we better go check on that Salt Lake again. It's are still plenty seasoned. Have you ever been to Pepper Mountain? We better go.
This story is not a commercial for good policing.
It's not.
No, it's really not. But the problem when they moved to Rexburg is that, Tylee had been this sort of mini-me for so many years, but then Tylee's behavior changed.
Yes.
Tylee was not doing...
She's a 16-year-old.
Yeah, she's a 16-year-old. She's not doing whatever Lori says anymore. She's being difficult. She's fucking pissed off that she had to move to Rexburg, Idaho. And I think it's the second, third, maybe fourth time she's had to move in her life. She's fucking sick of it. And Lori does not do well with people giving her any kind of guff.
Well, because Tylee didn't know that she was cruising for a bruising because she didn't understand that her fighting her mother was her exhibiting zombie-like behavior.
Exactly. Well, just a week and a day after Lori moved into the townhouse in Rexburg, she and Alex took Tylee and JJ on a day trip to Yellowstone National Park, just an hour and a half drive away. The whole family took a lot of photos on their smartphones where everyone appeared to be happy and having a good time. But those photos were the last known pieces of evidence that showed Tylee Ryan still alive. Now, as far as what happened to Tylee, we really don't have a clear picture of what went down. By the time Tylee's body was found, many months after her murder, it was so badly decomposed and had been so thoroughly destroyed that the medical examiner had no choice but to determine the cause of death as homicide by unspecific means. Later investigations, however, used smartphone data and pings on nearby towers to track the movements of Alex Cox. And using that data, they were able to build a loose timeline of what may have transpired.
Yeah, Tylee was found sadly, in multiple bags. And that was what was...
Well, she was found in a bucket.
Yes, but that bucket contained multiple bags, and those bags had to which is why her autopsy took something like 2 weeks. It took a very, very long time. And, but it was so destroyed, it's very hard to figure out exactly what happened.
So according to the smartphone data, Alex Cox showed up at Lori's townhouse late at night after the trip to Yellowstone, arriving at 2:42 a.m. It's believed that Alex and/or Lori murdered Tylee that night, and Alex spent the next hour completely dismembering and beheading Tylee's corpse in Lori's home. He then took the remains to his own townhouse next door, where he presumably got a couple hours of sleep. Then, at 9 a.m., he left for Chad Daybell's property with Tylee's dismembered body in tow. See, Chad had a good amount of land surrounding his home in Idaho, plenty of room to bury a body, and he'd already chosen a spot to bury Tylee east of his barn. Chad, the former professional gravedigger, likely dug the hole himself.
There's so much extra land in Idaho. Why bury him on your own property?
Because that's what he had access to.
You can keep an eye on it.
Yeah, it's because he's Mormon and he's stupid. Like, literally, that was the plan. It was just because it's there and I can do it. And again, they're working what we talked about before, this idea of, we have to remember, they still think this all's going to be real. In a way. Yeah. The Chad, I don't know so much, because obviously he lied and he changed his story.
He made the whole thing up.
Yes. But on some level, you're now on the point where you're killing children. You believe that this is gonna turn out all right.
Yeah.
Right? So you kind of think, as long as I kind of handle it all on my own, no one's gonna come peering into my world.
Alex believes it's real. Lori believes it's real. Chad most likely has convinced himself that it's real.
He's the one who's going to benefit the most.
Yeah. And I think there's a bit of a ritualistic aspect to this, which, I'm going to get into now. And if you want to get into a ritual, you usually have to do that on your own property.
That's what I learned. Because guess who hates it? The goddamn YMCA. Because guess what the M doesn't stand for? Magic rituals. According to who? According to nobody I fucking give a shit. I don't care about... If those old men make me look at their penises, I'm going to show them a pentagram.
Now, we know that Lori, Alex, and Chad Daybell planned this murder together well in advance, because the day after Tylee was killed, Chad had Googled what direction the wind would be blowing on the day they were set to dispose of Tylee's corpse. The reason why he Googled wind direction was because he and Alex had planned to burn the body before burying it. And this is, possibly two reasons. It could be to lessen the chances of someone noticing the smell of rotting flesh over time, or it could be, like I said, somewhat of a ritual.
It could have been a ritual, or it's just they don't understand how hard it is to burn a body.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot comes down to just
Chad totally knows how hard it is to burn a body. Chad was in the fucking dead body business for forever.
Do you cremate, but in the cremation business, does that go over to the gravedigger business? Is that not two separate? Is that like a union job?
It's two separate things, but they talk.
Yeah, and also...
Oh, but the talk is more like, what's your favorite color of a recently deceased member of society? Ah, yes, I like it when it's brown and green. That's how they talk.
I go for a classic gray.
I want the tits to be completely sawed off.
As long as it's mortals, that's all I care of.
Which way's the wind?
Just because I farted.
Well, Chad Googled the wind direction to make sure that his neighbors didn't catch the scent of human flesh cooking out in the open. And so, after Tylee's body was burned, most likely by Alex, they tossed her decapitated head into the grave first, then poured the still burning remains into a green bucket. Then they were burning to the point where the bucket melted from the heat. The bucket was then placed on top of the head, and by 11:45 a.m., Alex was on his way to get lunch at Del Taco, having just buried his niece.
And we want to thank Del Taco for sponsoring this episode. Honestly, one of the finest post-family annihilation meals I've ever had is the sleeper Del Taco hamburger. It really is. It really hits the spot, especially when you've made and emptied your own nest.
Yeah.
Certainly a place you go to not be seen.
Hey, Del Taco's the better chain.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
Taco Bell's way better.
No, Del Taco's
Del
better than
Taco's
Taco Bell.
trash.
I put Del Taco over Taco Bell.
Oh, well, both of you are fucking idiots.
I mean, they're both really bad. And we have no business. Like, eating Del Taco or Taco Bell in L.A. is like eating fucking Pizza Hut in New York City.
It is the
I don't know
truth.
why we do it.
Because sometimes you got to.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just craving that ick.
I want something nasty.
I know, but that's why I like Del Taco. Del Taco kind of gives it to you in a more soft way.
I miss Taco Viva. That was the old one. Maybe it was just in Florida.
Oh, maybe it was.
I don't know, but I loved it.
Yeah. Taco Bueno?
Don't know it. That's Texas.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I went to in Queens. It was Taco Go Fuck Yourself.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, you remember Taco Go Fuck Yourself?
Yeah, whenever you had to pay extra for them not spit on you.
Yeah, that was my favorite. I loved it I loved being called Uncle Big Butt every time I went in there.
Wait, so did they burn her head?
Yeah, they burned the whole thing.
They
okay.
tried to burn her
Tried
head.
to burn her head, yeah.
He's so bad at it.
Well, and
If he's a former crematorium guy, he should know that a backyard fire isn't nearly as hot as a crematorium.
well, he's a former gravedigger. Like
is
I
what
said,
I'm saying.
well, that's the thing. The crematorium and the gravedigger guys, they talk.
But I don't know if
they
they're
don't
always talking shop.
Yeah, I don't think they're always talking shop. No. That's why it might be a ritual thing, or it might just be I don't think they were trying to like fully cremate the body. Like, I think what Chad Daybell knew is that I think Chad Daybell knew about how much decomposing flesh can smell, like, and how easily it can permeate up through the ground. And so I think that what they were trying to do was burn the flesh away so it wouldn't smell.
Also, has anybody ever heard of, and I feel like we could say this with a pure confidence, spontaneous Tylee combustion, which is honestly what I was really hoping, and I wish that she would have been diagnosed ahead of time because we would have gotten the antidote, which is a bucket of water.
We had the bucket.
Now, as Henry said last episode, these are Mormons trying to get away with murder, sheltered folk. And from what we've seen over the years, nothing gets you into trouble faster than over-explaining. But that, of course, is exactly what Chad did after the disposal of Tylee's body. After Alex left that day, Chad decided that he needed to explain to his wife what that burning flesh smell was, whether she noticed it or not. So he sent this highly incriminating, unprompted text to ostensibly cover his tracks.
Well-
And please, verbatim.
Well, I've had an interesting morning. I felt I should burn all the limb debris by the fire pit before it got too soaked by the coming storms. While I did so, I spotted a big raccoon along the fence. I hurried and got my gun, and while he was still walking along, I got close enough that one shot did the trick. Yep, he's now in our pet cemetery. Fun times!
Sometimes dead is better.
Why do you keep coming by my pet cemetery? Why do you keep coming over here? Are you from the Munsters?
I just want to come by and tell you not to go down that road.
I know, it's closed off.
Just go down, don't go down that road.
I don't want to. I can't. They're doing construction.
So sour.
I know it is. That's why I added sugar to the mix.
Also, if you're trying to kill your kid because they're a zombie, don't bury him in the pet cemetery.
I honestly, for a second, I was like, But then, if she comes back, we can use her to fight against the devil. Which is not true, because it's like a monkey's paw arrangement, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Remember what happened in Pet Sematary 2? We all love Clancy Brown.
I do.
Oh, yeah. No brain, no pain.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love Pet Sematary 2 so much.
It's so good.
Now, even though Tylee was only 16 years old, Lori told everybody that she was now attending BYU, Idaho. Most people accepted the explanation as to why Tylee wasn't around anymore. So when there weren't a lot of follow-up questions, seems like Lori felt safe enough to move on to the task of getting rid of JJ. See, according to Melanie Gibbs' boyfriend, Chad was telling Lori that JJ was now a zombie who loved Satan.
Cool.
I knew you'd say that.
God, that would have been awesome.
Lori said she believed Chad's claim because JJ's vocabulary was growing, and he was finally sitting still to watch TV, where he'd never been able to do that previously.
So as soon as things are going well, she's like, Satan. Time for him to go.
Yeah, as soon as he's like kind of coming out of his shell and like growing and like, yeah.
Well, honestly, I do think it is partially that. It's coming down to, you're not supposed to get better. JJ's supposed to get worse. JJ's supposed to be super, super burdensome. Actually, him getting better is what's hastening his end.
Yeah. When things get good around here, we thank Satan.
Every day.
Now, it seems like there was a moment when Lori thought that she might not have to kill JJ. She told podcaster Melanie Gibb that she was going to hand over JJ to his grandmother, Kay Woodcock. She was going to lie to Kay and tell her that she couldn't take care of JJ anymore because she had cancer. But I think at this moment, Lori got a little too wrapped up in her own story and decided that it was time to practice what she preached.
Or she was just lying to Melanie Gibb as she's lied to everybody.
Indeed. See, from how Melanie Gibb put it, Lori was overanalyzing everything JJ did, and the only answer Lori seemed to come up with was zombie, zombie, zombie. Now, in Lori and Chad's world, leaving someone as a zombie was to doom that person's soul to an eternity in limbo. So just handing off JJ didn't work with the mythology the Daybell cult had built. So just 2 weeks after his stepsister Tylee was murdered, JJ had to go as well. So on September 22nd, Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend came over to record a podcast with Lori, and they ended up staying the night.
It just kind of reminds me of the time that Eddie and we guested on Dan Soder's podcast. Do you remember when we killed that boy? I mean, just to warm up. Just because so hard to start. It was in the morning.
Yeah.
The podcasting's so hard in the morning.
Dan's still doing that, huh?
Oh, yes.
He's been doing that since like the old days back in 2010 when we were recording stuff together.
The only thing that changed is all those dead boys.
Well, he's getting the checks.
Yeah.
Well, Gibb and her boyfriend saw Alex take JJ up to bed before they went to sleep. But when they were packing up to leave the next morning, JJ was nowhere to be seen. Lori quite nonchalantly told them that JJ was being a zombie the night before, after they'd gone to bed. And he'd climbed up on the fridge and smashed a picture of Jesus, then he climbed onto the kitchen cabinets where he got stuck between the cabinets and the ceiling like a fucking cat. So, Lori...
Yeah, like he's Tom Holland.
So, Lori said she'd asked Alex to take JJ over to his place to calm him down. But as we now know, that was the night that Alex killed JJ Vallow. With this one, however, we absolutely know that Lori Vallow was present during whatever it was that transpired.
One thing we know from Melanie Gibb was that he went next door to his townhouse with a crying, screaming JJ. And when he came back, they were the last two people to see JJ. She watched JJ, quote unquote, asleep in Alex Cox's arms as he took him up the stairs.
Yeah. Now, again, we don't know exactly how the murder went down, but it is possible that it may have been a highly neglectful accident. When it comes to Lori Vallow, though, this really could go either way. Well, what we do know is that Alex and Lori wrapped duct tape around JJ's head tightly to cover his mouth.
By accident.
Super. You know how many times? Man, yesterday it was so hard. I had 2 rolls. I don't even know how I tripped.
Yeah, and just covered in it. Yeah. Then they wrapped tape around his head several times from his chin to his forehead, basically only giving him the ability to breathe out of his nose. JJ's feet and ankles were also bound in duct tape, as well as his wrists. In fact, Alex and Lori had wrapped duct tape all around his hands and arms all the way up to his elbows. Finally, though, Alex put a white plastic garbage bag over JJ's head and pulled the drawstring, which is probably what ultimately killed him. But the reason why we know that Lori Vallow was at least present for the torturous death of her son is because investigators found one of Lori's bleach blonde hairs stuck in one of the pieces of duct tape used to restrain JJ.
Now, if you listen to the coroner talk about this, one thing that is interesting is that in the toxicology report of JJ, GHB was found in his liver. Now, there are some people that believe, like the coroner said, which I love, which is my freedom, right? He says they can't speculate, right? But I can. That's the best part. I can speculate all day.
I mean, if GHB is in the liver, it's in the liver.
But they said it was a small
GHB,
amount.
that's the roofie drug, right?
That's the roofie drug. They said it was a small amount. So this is my take. What they found, a couple of things that were very interesting and sad on JJ's body. There were scratch marks on his neck that obviously came from human nails. So what they think happened was, and this is my entire speculation, Alex takes him next door. They knew they were going to kill JJ at some point. They decided to do it this way. He had caffeine, chocolate in his system, GHB, and his own, he had his medication and some other decomposition materials. I think that he was given a drink that had not the right amount of GHB in it to kill him entirely. I think that he expected JJ to just not wake up. And then when he went him upstairs, JJ got groggy. And I think that what then happened first was the first layer of trying to suffocate him, which was putting duct tape on his mouth, which is where the first duct tape is seen. Then we see him struggling. So I think you see bruises all over JJ's arms, in which he was very obviously pinned to the bed. Then you see struggle marks over his hands and in his neck, in which you're seeing that he is fighting what seems to be duct tape getting wrapped around his head. So I think that is where the defensive wounds are coming from, was that him he died alive. He was alive while they did it, and then they put the bag over his head to complete it. And then in the process of getting the bag over his head, they had to tape his hands and his feet.
Yeah.
And we know that Alex had GHB because he was an open mic comedian.
Yes, and that's how you get paid at those mic pulls.
Now, as far as why this happened, it very well could have been that JJ, and this could still work in with your theory, that JJ was having an episode of sorts. Alex took things too far and trying to calm him down, and JJ died.
Well, they already had a plan to kill him, so I just feel like it's too coincidental.
Well, that's the thing. Once he'd wrapped him up, it's possible that JJ died or Lori just told him to finish the job, even with the podcaster couple staying in her home that night. But it is more likely that Lori and Alex had fully planned to murder JJ on September 22nd, even with the podcasters there, if only so Lori could prove how powerful and untouchable she was by this point.
Or as a witness or an alibi, so they didn't do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's very possible. Also, they weren't true crime podcasters.
Yeah.
If they were true crime podcasters, maybe this whole thing would be a little bit different.
Maybe.
It would be brought to you by Squarespace.
This murder is brought to you by Squarespace. See, the evidence for premeditation here is that Alex headed out to Chad Daybell's property the morning after the murder, just like he'd done with Tylee. Except this time, he carried JJ's 7-year-old corpse in a black plastic garbage bag. Now, smartphone data says that on the morning Alex disposed of JJ's body, he only spent 17 minutes on the northern edge of Chad Daybell's property, near Chad and Tammy's pet cemetery. But since Alex spent such little time on the property, it's likely that Chad had already dug the grave either the night before or that morning. And the directive had to be given in person because no text exists that could reasonably be linked to the body's disposal. So all Alex had to do was throw the body in the hole, put 3 wooden panels and 3 heavy stones on top, then fill the small grave with dirt before once again leaving Chad's property.
Yes, because I think that the process of cutting up Tylee and burning him was too much for them.
Yeah.
I think that they realized that when in the middle of it, which is a part of the reason why I think she was only half burned, was because in the middle of the process, they're like, what are we doing?
This is awful.
Yes.
Yeah.
When did they move to Rexburg again? How long was Chad Daybell there?
Chad Daybell had been there 5 years.
Something like that since 2018.
Okay.
Maybe, I guess maybe like
a year and 2 years, almost 2 years.
Yeah, I guess he moved there in 2018. So yeah, maybe like 2 years.
That's not long enough to have a pet cemetery.
Exactly. Exactly. I was trying to think.
Wow. Yeah, that's the pet cemetery thing always like irked me, and I didn't know why.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
why.
How many dogs did these people kill?
Like, seriously, your first thought is brand new house, new neighborhood, meeting the neighbors. First thing you say to your wife, so where do we put the pet cemetery? So we're already planning? Yeah, that is really funny.
Yeah, did like they have a bunch of dogs and cats like die in a fire or an explosion? Or
Well, there was the one terrier group suicide we had, but that largely we felt that had to do with online bullying.
That's right. And the donkey was a zombie.
Yeah. As far as what Lori told people about JJ, she, for some reason, had multiple stories that were all slightly different. And I never understand this with these people, why they have to tell different people different stories when it's so much easier to have one simple story to stick to.
That's really good advice if you're trying to kill.
Yeah.
We're going to be given a lot of it today?
That's what I always say, is that, like, if you want to learn how to do something well, don't just look at the masters, look at the failures.
Look at the failures.
Well, Lori told his school that JJ had gone to Louisiana to stay with his grandparents, but she told JJ's nanny that JJ had gone to visit his grandmother in Hawaii. No fucking reason.
Yeah, JJ's living an amazing fig life.
Yeah. The explanation Lori had given people about Tylee, however, the one that she'd gone to BYU, Idaho, that was starting to wear thin. On September 24th, Tylee's older brother and Lori's first son, Colby Ryan, texted Tylee's phone to wish her a happy birthday. Obviously, Lori Vallow had been anticipating something like this because she'd kept Tylee's phone charged and ready to use since Tylee's murder. So when Colby texted Tylee's phone, Lori texted back, pretending to be the dead daughter that she had killed.
And this brings me to one of my largest pet peeves in all of millennial-made content. Our feeble, sad attempt to write like teenagers and to speak like teenagers. Every single time I see a show that has been obviously written by 40 to 50-year-olds with teenagers speaking, they sound really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you need to have one pedophile on every staff that knows how to talk to kids.
Well, they did. It was called the Disney Channel.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Nickelodeon.
It made huge hits.
Yeah.
But again, see how if you harness him with just enough guidance, if you harness him, sky's the limit. Hannah Montana.
She's a gas. That's bad lingo. I was just making a...
she's a gas.
Gas. Yeah,
She's
that's boss. That's boss.
She's the bee's knees.
Yes.
Yeah, she's the wasp sass.
Now, when Lori started texting as Tylee to Colby figured, this is kind of weird. Can I give you a call? But Lori, texting as Tylee, wrote back that she was too tired to talk. And Lori didn't even bother to try and mimic Tylee's emoji-heavy texting style. Colby, of course, knew that something was up immediately. It did not, however, enter his mind that his mother had killed his sister who was now pretending to be her on the phone. And it would be a long time before Colby accepted that fact.
And that's why it shows that actually, in many ways, the superpowers of being bipolar or having OCD, that's actually the first thought you would have. And that's actually why I'm stronger in many ways. My powerful paranoia. Are you my mom pretending to be my sister? Jackie loves it.
Now, depending on your point of view, the fall of 2019 was either very good for Chad Daybell or very bad. After years of declaring himself a prophet in public appearances and on podcasts, the LDS establishment, that's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they finally took notice and duly excommunicated Daybell from the Mormon Church.
Flush!
It's the first good thing they've done the whole fucking time.
They did it for their own fucking, to save themselves from somebody they knew was going to be a liability.
Yeah, they do it all the time. Yeah, they just, but that's the thing. They stripped Chad of his LDS membership. They banned him from entering Mormon temples or partaking in the sacrament. And that should have been a life-shaking moment for him. But really, all this meant was that Chad had nothing else to do but to retreat completely into his own little fantasy world. And that's the big problem with this, with the Mormon church, is that they have these people that are on the fringes. They start saying all this crazy shit. The Mormon church says, like, hey, you can't be a part of our club anymore. And so that only makes those fucking people double down on the crazy shit that they've been talking about.
It's time for me to go independent. Yeah, free from all restraints. Fuck you, FCC.
And additionally, for a fringe figure like Chad Daybell, I would imagine that being excommunicated was a bit of a badge of honor, because Chad continued on his merry way with Lori and his other followers, even though it was obvious that everything was starting to fall apart.
There's some information pointing to the fact that Chad was actually super bummed. Mm-hmm. And that one of the things that he was trying to do, like truly, when I keep talking about this foiled a big plot that was coming from inside.
Sure.
This foiled the thing where they knew that they were positioning all of these guys to be the brand new prophet from the streets.
Yeah, the neo-fundamentalist revolution.
So I think in that way, that's also why they excommunicated him so quickly, was because they needed to basically show Tom Harrison, you need to stop talking about this, but we won't punish you because we've decided you're important. But we got to knock out all your little buddies. Same thing with fucking, what's his putz, with Tim Ballard.
Yeah. Especially the ones with bodies piling up.
You know, but Mormons, they love blood.
It's basically, we're going to start we see your coup, we see it coming, and we're going to take out your guys before it even gets close.
Yes.
Now, for two people who were trying to get an entire town prepped for the end times, which was doing about 9 months at this point.
Oh my God, where do we get the floats? Where do we get floats? How do I get peanut butter? How do you make peanut butter?
Well, for people who were trying to get all this shit done, Chad and Lori spent an awful lot of time on their own personal romance. But more than anything, they spent a lot of time making sure they got paid. See, since Lori hadn't gotten any payout from Charles Vallow's insurance policy because he'd switched the beneficiary to his sister Kay, Chad made sure they had a nest egg by significantly increasing the life insurance policies he'd taken out on his wife Tammi. At the same time, Chad and Lori also made sure that Lori's niece, Melanie Boudreau, who had reconnected with Lori and gone all in on the cult, they made sure that she was still the beneficiary on her ex-husband's policy. Ex-husband because Chad and Lori had forced her to divorce him because he was a dark spirit. But once it was confirmed that Melanie Boudreau was indeed still the beneficiary, the ex-husband, Brandon Boudreau, was clocked as a full zombie and was therefore put on Alex Cox's hit list. Got all that?
Yeah, I got all of it.
You know,
I'm just bad about it.
now Alex Cox, but he has to go full fucking, what's his name, from Grosse Point Blank.
John Cusack?
John Cusack. He's got to go back in there, right? Because now he's got to get all in his blacks and get ready for assassin mode.
Yeah. Now, we know that Lori was involved in the plot to kill her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreau, because she visited a gun shop the day after JJ was killed and took photos of assault rifle ammunition boxes. It's believed that Lori took these pictures to show Alex what he needed to use to kill not only Brandon Boudreau, but Tammi Daybell as well, because both Tammi and Brandon had now been officially clocked as zombies, and both were heavily insured. As such, Chad was also laying the groundwork for Tammy's impending death by telling friends that she wasn't doing well and that he wouldn't be surprised if she died in her sleep any day now.
Any day. We're all just on pins and needles about it.
We're all holding her mouth and nose shut about it.
It's so important to have her relax. And I go, relax, Tammy. Relax. Somebody sleep, Tammy.
She keeps accidentally covering herself in duct tape.
I don't know how that happens. She just does that alligator death roll with the duct tape.
But before Tammi got, Chad and Lori decided to take down Brandon Boudreau first. So on October 2nd, Alex stupidly drove Tylee's Jeep to Brandon Boudreau's home early in the morning. A Jeep that Brandon knew. A vehicle that Brandon knew.
Not just that, if you're coming from Idaho to Arizona, bad gas mileage.
Super bad gas mileage.
The worst. And he made the trek all the way from Idaho, all the way down to Gilbert, Arizona. And that, of course, that's the same town that Alex had murdered Charles Vallow. Gilbert, Arizona was kind of like the first Rexburg. A lot of these people had moved to Gilbert to be around Lori and Charles and so on and so forth.
But I tell you what, if I rent a car to go kill somebody else's family, I'm getting the Toyota Corolla. Because that thing, great gas mileage, lasts forever. You could drive it through a bank. You could drive it through the White House.
Comfy.
It is just an incredible tool
And
for the
it's
assassin.
one of the most popular cars in America.
It is.
So they were all over the road.
all over the road.
Yeah. Well, once Alex arrived in Brandon's neighborhood, he parked across the street from Brandon's house. He then got into the back seat and steadied his silenced rifle for the moment Brandon returned from the gym.
He keeps reminding me. We brought this up the other day. Caddyshack 2. Dan Aykroyd. Okay, Mr. Esterhaus. Like, he's got the blacks on, like you can see him with the ghillie suit inside of the fucking all right, going cousin hunting.
He does. Dan Aykroyd in that movie does seem to be on the edge of an orgasm the entire time.
Very strange film.
It's a very strange film.
I think it's better than we remember it.
It is.
I need to go back and see and watch it, because it's about miniature golf, right?
Oh, yeah, it's Jackie Mason.
Jackie Mason.
And Randy Quaid is great.
He's wonderful in it.
Yeah, I'll
you
go.
ever tried golfing with that jammed up your crack? That's another line from Caddyshack 2. We watched it endlessly as kids.
Well, once Brandon pulled up, Alex fired a shot, and with a whoomp, Brandon felt a bullet whiz by his head. Immediately recognizing that someone was shooting him, Brandon hit the accelerator and drove off, while Alex fled in the opposite direction.
Exit and stage left.
Terrified, Brandon reported the attempted assassination and hid out at his parents' place with his kids, having narrowly escaped the fantasy world created by Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. Tammi Daybell, however, would not escape Chad and Lori. And from the timeline and Lori's digital trail, we know that Tammy's death was planned far in advance. See, on the same day that Alex Cox tried to shoot Brandon Boudreaux, Lori ordered 2 extremely tacky wedding rings off Amazon Prime using her ex-husband's account.
How romantic.
Yep.
I did buy Julie's engagement ring at Costco, so I can't really talk.
Hey,
You
Costco's
can't.
got good jewelry.
Well, you went to the store.
You
I
went
did.
to the store.
I did
and
go to
it's
the
good
store.
jewelry. I like Costco jewelry.
Yeah, and when I had to pick it up, the guy in front of me had a giant jar of peanut butter he was returning. I'm like, what am I doing here?
Hey, at least you didn't bring her a big giant jar of peanut butter. You know what I mean?
Keep digging in there. You might find something you like.
Now, Lori would later say that she'd bought these rings for the upcoming wedding between Alex Cox and cult member Zulema Pastenes. But that doesn't explain the collared shirt and linen slacks that she also bought on her dead husband's Amazon account in her dumpy groom-to-be's sizes.
Do they get extra fupa length? Is that like a thing that you can get? Can you get big fupa pants?
On Amazon Prime, you can.
Oh, wow. Amazon Prime's great.
Yeah.
You know, if I buy my linen, I go to Quince, right? You know,
It's so much ad placement.
yeah. Dress like a zombie killing prince when you're in your Quince.
They're going to love that. They're going to love this.
It's a free one.
But these clothes, of course, would be the same that Chad would wear during his and Lori's impending nuptials. So the whole excuse of I bought the rings for Alex and Zulema does not hold. Now, 3 days after Lori ordered the rings, Chad sent her a text saying that he had big news about Tammi. After getting no reply, Chad sent another text explaining the big news because he obviously couldn't wait to tell Lori. Here's that text.
The short version is that she has been switched, Tammy's in limbo, and level 3 demonic entity named Viola is in her body. It happened about 10 p.m. and was done by Tammy's sister that I always knew was 3 Dark, but it turns out she is multiple creation. Can you believe it? Not fully sure of the timing for her removal, but once her actions verify the differences, I don't want to wait.
Basically telling him, time to kill Tammi.
Gonna kill Tammi. Gonna kill that Tammi.
Do you know what multiple creation means?
Multiple.
No.
She is a that.
Well, I
means-
know you don't know.
Well, fuck you.
Multiple creation, I believe, has to do with demonic entities, and that she's not, because there's some that are human and some that aren't. There's a whole extended lore. And Doesn't matter. Tammy's fucking dead.
Yeah, I did actually. I struggled quite a bit on this episode with like how much of the lore to put in and how much more you don't need to know anymore.
You really don't.
You know everything you need to know. There is a whole fucking there's a lower layer to this fucking shit.
Oh yeah,
that is like it's so deep and it's so stupid and it's so confusing.
And I've read all of it. And I've gone through all of it, and it's not. It hasn't helped me. Hasn't helped me as a person. Hasn't helped me as a comedian. Hasn't helped me as a podcaster.
Well, it's nonsense.
It is. But I also, I like nonsense. But it's not even good nonsense. But Tammi really, I wonder where she was at during this, because all of this was happening while she was alive. The kids get killed. All this stuff's going on, and she is just kind of in her own little world.
Well, she's going about her day.
Yeah,
she has no idea that this is coming for her. She's looking at her big dumpy husband, and he's just going, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm glad that Tina turned around on that one. And she's just like texting, going like, oh, nothing. Just I'm on the internet.
Well, if you look at it from her perspective, at this point, her husband has been excommunicated from the church they've been in their entire lives.
Oh, she's
like they're both like, I would imagine life for Tammi right now is highly stressful.
Well, she is mostly a true believer.
Yeah.
And then we also wonder whether or not, one of my big concepts is that he tried to get her to be a plural wife.
Maybe.
And she wasn't super into it.
Do you think, does she know that Lori exists?
Yeah. Yeah, she went to at least one conference with Chad. She knows Lori exists because she knows that he guests on her podcast.
The podcast, yeah.
And they know her in terms of that way because she became this sort of you can't be more minor of a presenter than she was. And that's how she got known.
Yeah, but she definitely doesn't know that they've been texting every day for, at this point, a year.
Yeah, that they made forehead sex.
Yeah.
She has no idea that they made forehead sex.
Well, 4 days after Chad sent the text about Tammi being switched, he gave Alex Cox the go-ahead to carry out Tammy's assassination. As Tammi was unloading groceries from her car in front of her and Chad's home, Alex Cox suddenly appeared with a ski mask and a rifle.
Coming for you, Mrs. Esther House. It's the same, just him, again, full ghillie suit in the middle of the fucking Salt Lake City gated community.
This isn't Salt Lake City, this is Rexburg, Idaho.
But still, it's just like a gated community, and him just going like, gotta be very quiet.
Can we get this done soon? I got a mic I gotta hit.
Fuck, I never will be on Kiltonia.
If we don't hit the first one, I won't be able to get to the second one. Now, at first, Tammi thought that Alex was holding a paintball gun, but when he fired several shots, it became obvious that it was an actual rifle, albeit silenced. But as it turned out, Alex Cox was a very bad shot, and he missed Tammi just like he missed Brandon. Tammi screamed, Alex ran away, and Tammi called the police soon after. The police, however, decided to seize on Tammy's initial impression that the assailant was using a paintball gun, and therefore dismissed the whole thing as a prank.
Literally just glazed over it because, and I do think it's just because Tammi, I know that they have seen guns, right? Like this is a Mormon family. They've seen guns.
And they're in a rural community, a fundamentalist Mormon community. They've definitely seen guns.
I think the only thing that would have fooled her about it is the fact that it was an automatic rifle or was something that didn't look like something that she was used to seeing.
And it had a big silencer on it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't there be bullet holes? Or at least paint?
Well, that is the thing. Yeah, there would be paint. I did think about that. Like, where's the paint? But it is, it wasn't a gated community. Like, it was a rural community.
Yeah,
I know these places well where you get like just outside of town and, these, properties are large. They're like a few acres, and each house is pretty far away from each other. So you can fire a bullet, and it's not really going to hit anything, or it's not going to hit anything close. And these cops aren't going to go off into the fucking, they're not going to go out into the woods to see if there's any like bullet holes.
These motherfuckers have nothing else going on. It's Rexburg, Idaho.
But that's the thing. That's if there's woods. There might be nothing. Like, there might be nothing beyond it, and there might be nothing to see.
And they also don't believe it's bullets or an actual gun because they've never seen anyone shoot a gun at someone properly.
Yeah, and again,
I guess it's no violent crime.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yep.
It's the most likely explanation. Occam's razor. Every cop is supposed to go off of, like, what is the most likely explanation here?
And
in Rexburg, Idaho, the most likely explanation is some shithead kid with a paintball gun.
Definitely.
Not a fucking assassin for a cult.
Well, that's where they were wrong.
But we know for a fact that Lori and Chad ordered this hit because later that night, Zelema Pastanis was hanging out with Lori when Alex called. Zelema heard Lori tell Alex over the phone that he was an idiot who can't do anything right by himself.
Yeah, she sounded like a fucking cartoon villain.
You can't do anything right by yourself.
What is the point of having henchmen if you keep bungling it up? Oh, Batman!
Surrounded by incompetents and fools. And Zelema, of course, took that to be an admonishment for botching the assassination, but only later, because Zelema...
Poor.
Oh my God.
Stupid Zulema.
The way that I would describe Zelema is that Zelema doesn't, like, I don't think Zelema really knows that there's anything going on at this point. She doesn't think about the murders or anything like that. It's only after everything kind of comes back that she goes, oh, that makes sense now.
Yes, I remember Lori very angry. She yelled. She said mean words like you're stupid and you're bad at it. And it was just, what a terrible call. Like, the way she's talking about it, because she called the man stupid on the phone. She was just like, oh, no.
But in the end, Chad Daybell decided to go a different route in murdering his wife. Instead of an assassination, he and Alex decided to go with a good old-fashioned suffocation in the middle of the night. About 10 days after Alex's attempt on Tammi Daybell's life, Chad called 911 and said that his wife had gone to sleep with a bad cough. Chad had thereafter found her dead with so-called pink foam coming out of her mouth. The county coroner, however, felt that there was no reason to look into her death at all. So he ruled the causes as natural and immediately sent the body to a funeral home because Chad specifically said he did not want an autopsy.
Oh, how about cremation, you fucking idiot? Sorry.
Exactly. No, we know that she was murdered. They originally said that it was accidental, and it's just another fucking example of they just take the husband's word for it.
Yeah.
They mostly take the information that's there, and you have Chad describing some long thing, and you've got, I guess it's, I don't know how many bodies build up in the morgue in Rexburg, but it's like, I guess you got to move it along.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if someone reports an attempted murder, and then 10 days later, they're dead. Maybe look into it.
One was a prank, and one was a cough. You don't understand, Eddie, that pranks and coughs can't run the world.
That is true. They really can't. If I let pranks and coughs run my life,
his whole life would be fucking shattered.
It'd fall apart, yeah.
Rise from your grave.
From the boogie down streets of Queens to a pile of beans, a new cup of piping hot Polish Italian Java. Last podcast on the left, and Spring Hill Jack Coffee are rising from the rubble with a new brew on Butterfly Dudes Blue Eye Blend. Nothing to do with any moth-based entity. Don't even think about it. This is a butterfly dude. Don't mind the blue eyes. He's just Caucasian. Our new proprietary roast might seem eerily similar, but don't let your tongue deceive you. It's a Butterfly Dude roast. This is the Butterfly Dude's Blue Eye Blend. Entirely delicious, and not just the same beans. Butterfly Dude's Blue Eye Blend. From the cocoon to your room.
Now, as far as what Chad told Tammy's family, he said that she'd been sick and had been having coughing fits as of late, which her family found hard to believe because she'd been in perfect health when they saw her just 2 weeks earlier. Chad, however, stonewalled everyone again and again, and even made a tacky and oddly detached Facebook post announcing her death. It read, quote,
I am saddened to share that my beautiful, talented wife, Tammi, passed away early this morning in her sleep. It is a shock to all of us. She was so beautiful in every way. We are still working out the details, but we plan to hold a viewing Monday evening in Springville, Utah, then hold a funeral and burial there on Tuesday. We are overwhelmed with the outpouring of love and support. Thank you so much.
It's the thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
He really is a bad writer.
Think about this. He can't even write a moving post about his dead wife.
Yeah. No, yes, exactly. Yeah, he's supposed to be. He's written like novel after novel. And like
beautiful and talented.
Yeah.
Like she's Vanna White.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who describes their
Talented
wife
how?
as beautiful and talented?
he called
what does
her.
that mean?
Yeah, he used the word beautiful twice in 3 sentences. Couldn't even be bothered to look up the thesaurus.
You know what it was? Is that he wanted to make sure to everyone know, being like, no matter what woman I roll in here with 3 days from now, just know for a fact that I thought Tammi was beautiful.
Yeah. And by the way, she was buried in the same cemetery where they used not the pets.
No, where the pets are.
No.
Tammi wanted to be amongst her 1,000 pets that we murdered in the last 2 years. She had to be with the 5 parakeets she crushed with the car accidentally.
No, it was a cemetery in Utah where they hadn't met, but she had gotten him a job after they started dating. They worked there together for a long time.
Oh, I remember.
Same joint?
Yeah, same joint. Yeah.
She was the gravedigger's receptionist.
Yeah.
Which is going to be my new Mormon pornography novel.
Not the astronaut's wife, but the gravedigger's receptionist.
And they're getting so many calls. Crazy.
But, Lori and Chad, you joke about it being like whoever I show up with 4 days from now. 2 weeks after Tammi died, Chad and Lori flew to Hawaii and paid $600 for a beach wedding, complete with a photo shoot. When they got back, Chad even had the nerve to call one of Tammy's sisters to tell her that he'd gotten remarried in Hawaii. This is 2 weeks after he buried Tammi. Strangely, though, Chad described Lori as an empty nester whose daughter had died a year previous. Again, Chad's given details he doesn't have to give, and he's lying for no reason, and he raised suspicion as a result.
Also, if they don't give a fuck about the law, why are they getting married on paper?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's again, weirdly, this is the Mormon thing. You're stuck in this sense of appearances and this need for appearances to be away.
Yeah.
So they still, in this delusional state, they want it to be as real as they can make it.
Yeah.
So that when it does happen, it's all been legally, like we're legally married or what, they can have a sense of kind of, normalcy.
I don't think they made one correct choice to get away with it.
No, they really didn't. It is insane.
Is too good sometimes.
It really is. Well, Chad and Lori's insistence that they go full steam ahead, it wasn't really working in the real world, because the disappearances of Tylee and JJ were finally starting to catch up to Lori Vallow. In late November 2019, JJ's grandmother, Kay Woodcock, finally called police down in Gilbert, Arizona to tell them that JJ had been missing for 3 months and that his adopted mother, Lori Vallow, wasn't responding to texts or calls. Kay had called Arizona police because she didn't know Lori had moved to Idaho, but unbeknownst to Kay, those same cops were already investigating Lori for the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreaux because Brandon had absolutely recognized the green Jeep that his attempted assassin drove as the same one that belonged to Lori's daughter. Additionally, those same cops in Arizona were also revisiting the death of Lori's 4th husband, Charles Vallow. So, one of the Arizona detectives agreed to drive to Idaho to do a welfare check on JJ. And the only way that visit could have gone worse for Lori and Chad is if JJ's dead body had fallen from the fucking ceiling in the middle of the interview.
It is just wild how badly they will continue to fuck this up.
So when detectives knocked on the door of Lori's townhouse, it was actually Alex Cox and Chad Daybell who answered, and the last person you wanted talking to the cops were these two knuckleheads. Where Lori was always calm and collected with the police, Alex, and especially Chad, melted under the slightest pressure. For example, when detectives asked if JJ was home, Alex and Chad just looked at each other and said nothing.
Don't know.
They didn't even say don't know.
They were just like, you know when you could hear the eyeballs move? Yeah.
When the detective asked again, Alex blurted out that JJ was in Louisiana visiting his grandmother.
It's Mardi Gras.
He loved Mardi Gras. He was always down there. He loved it. He used to go down there. It's one of my favorites. He loves absinthe.
Yeah, the grandmother, Kay Woodcock. And the detective told Alex that he knew this wasn't true because guess what? Kay Woodcock was the one who called and asked for the welfare check. So she's not there.
This can't be real then.
So the detective asked for Lori's phone number. Alex stupidly said he didn't have his sister's phone number while he was standing in his sister's house.
Yeah, I got her number. Yeah, absolutely. It's 555-728-008.
Forgot the niner.
Because I remember the number because the numbers spells boobs.
But if you wanted to talk to Lori, she was in the townhouse next door. So he just immediately was like, I don't know her number, but she's next door. You can talk to her there. Which
she heard her through the wall.
Yeah. While one officer went to talk to Lori, Chad panicked and tried fleeing the interview in his Chevy Equinox.
To the Mormon mobile. Let's go.
The detectives, of course, stopped him and asked him again about JJ. Chad said the last time he saw JJ was in October, and he didn't have Lori's number either, in case the cop was wondering, because he didn't know her that well.
I have never had forehead sex with this woman. I've never tried to lead the 144,000 and end this very world that you stand upon with this woman. I have no idea who JJ is. Old friend of mine, I guess.
Stay away from my pet cemetery.
Anything, there's a lesson to be learned.
Well, because the thing is that he's acting like JJ's like a guy he used to know.
Yeah, yeah, not like a 7-year-old disabled boy.
Yeah. You'll literally be like, JJ, well, last time I heard it from JJ, he was, I think he was on his way to St. Paul for conference.
Or is he backpacking across Europe?
He's in a backpack in Europe.
Well, Chad's claim that he didn't know Lori that well was another easily disproved lie, because the cops knew that Chad and Lori had just gotten married in Hawaii.
It was a very short kind of elopement, really. It's only been about a year.
Because how long does it take to really know someone?
Yeah. Sometimes you don't know anybody, you can live with them forever.
Finally, though, the cops located Lori herself in one of the townhouses, and she tried using the same charm that had worked on cops her entire life. But the veil was starting to slip. Lori tried the brick wall of rambling tactic. This is one of Lori's go-tos. She went on and on about JJ's autism, how she was such a good person for raising him, how horrible Kay Woodcock was, and how Lori should have been the person to receive the insurance benefits for her husband's death. In fact, she's going to sue Kay Woodcock. It's just moving from subject to subject to subject, so the cops can't ever focus on what they're actually there for.
Yeah, and when they're there investigating a missing person, don't bring up another random death you're involved in.
And don't bring up how you're upset about it.
Yeah. Don't give the cops things to ask you questions about.
Yeah. And finally, Lori started talking about how her brother Adam, a.k.a. Bo Nasty, he was trying to kill her for insurance money. Mm-hmm. She's basically deflecting all the blame away from herself while simultaneously trying to play on the sympathies of the police. But when the cops didn't buy it and just kept pressing her to just tell them where JJ was, she improvised and said that JJ and Tylee were both at the movies with her friend, podcaster Melanie Gibb. They're all seeing Frozen too.
Ironically, which it is about trying to find lost family members.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were they found buried in the pet cemetery?
They were in the Annihilation Cloud Never.
Oh, wow. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Well, Lori said that
I blame Olaf.
you just want to blame Josh Gad for anything.
Josh Gad, I'm coming for your sins. Josh Gad, I won't rest until I see you crucified.
If I get you, you're going to accidentally fall down in some duct tape.
Really?
Honestly, Josh Gad, I mean you no harm.
Yeah. Well, Lori, I'm glad you kind of turned the corner on that one.
Isn't that nice?
You used to have a lot of animosity.
I'm fine with Josh Gad. He's allowed.
I like him.
He's fun.
You know, it's because you have a nice life now.
I do.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
No,
You don't have to hate all the fat comedians anymore.
Yeah, because
No,
you
I
used to have like a kind of a blanket hatred.
Yeah, I did, but now it's different.
Yeah. That guy from Lost, though, he's going down. Hurley? Fuck that
fuck
piece of
that
shit.
Wait. No. You go.
He beat me out to play the mute hermit minor in the Adam Sandler Ridiculous Six vehicle. That was supposed to be me. I was the second choice in that.
Yeah, man.
I was supposed to be mine. I was supposed to be hanging out in New Mexico with fucking all the Sandman's crew.
Yeah, and he beat me out in a lesbian vampire movie that never even came out.
I'm going to go ahead and defend Jorge Garcia right now. I think he's delightful. I'm a massive Lost fan. I met him once at an event in Brooklyn, and he was extraordinarily kind.
Jorge Garcia, I mean you no harm.
Well, Lori told the cops that she was going to have Melanie call them as soon as they got back from watching Frozen 2. But just after the cops left, Chad returned to come up with a plan, albeit a very bad one. He called Melanie Gibb and told her that the police would be calling about JJ, but she must not, under any circumstances, pick up. And that's it. Lori...
We're covered. Yeah. Because there's one thing an amateur podcast doesn't like to do, and that's talk. Yeah. And there's no way she would want to get involved in something spicy like this.
If you get a call from a number 911, don't pick it up.
Send it to voicemail.
Well, Lori then called Melanie Gibb herself and asked Melanie for a recent photo of, quote, children running around. Gibb later testified that Lori had implied that she wanted Melanie to make it look like the photo was of JJ, but Melanie declined to participate. Now, the cascade of lies that came from the mouths of Lori, Chad, and Alex was enough justification for search warrants on all the townhouses rented by cult members. But when the cops returned for the search the next day, they found that Lori and Alex were both gone, and all of Lori's clothes were missing. As it turned out, though, Chad, Lori...
I hid them. Naked sister time. Sounds like it's naked sister time. Ding, 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 ding.
He does like it. We know he likes it.
He loves it. He loves it. We know he loves it. Well, as it turned out, Chad, Lori, and Alex were not necessarily on the run. Instead, they moved on to the next phase of solidifying their cult. See, after spending Thanksgiving at Knott's Berry Farm...
Classless. Fried chicken for Thanksgiving?
No, they serve a Thanksgiving buffet.
You've been.
I saw it advertised.
Well, after that little vacation, Chad and Lori joined their most ardent members in Las Vegas for a flurry of cult weddings. Remember last episode I said they made all the people divorce and then they made all the people marry? Mm-hmm. They hadn't made them married just yet. They just paired them together and said, you're going to marry this person. You're going. This is your soulmate. This is the point where they actually went through with it.
Oh, giggity gig, more like whole mate. I'll save it. Let me write that down. Did anybody have a notepad? Anybody have a notepad? I gotta write that down. I can't lose it. Whole mate. I can't lose it.
Hey, Alex, you want to go to Del Taco?
Yes, absolutely. Of course I do. Fuck, what was the joke?
So 2 days after the cops executed a search warrant on the cult's townhouse enclave, Chad and Lori met Alex Cox, Zulema Pestenis, and Lori's niece Melanie Boudreau in Las Vegas. Now, the first wedding that night was between Alex Cox and Zulema. Alex was following orders from Chad and Lori to marry Zulema because they told him that that's just what was supposed to happen. And Zulema got to marry the cult's protector, which upped her status just the slightest bit.
I love how your breath smells like beer, and I love that even though you do not drink, you smell like beer. And I love your grubby, beaver-like hands. And I love your small, pumpkin-like smile.
I love when you call me Lori.
Me too. Oh, Zulema, it's time for my anointing.
Ugh. Just fucking hate that. I just hate him so much.
Yeah. I'm dead, so it's okay.
But then there was the matter of who was going to marry Lori's niece, Melanie Boudreau. See, after her divorce from Brandon, Melanie Boudreau had been trolling the Mormon dating sites, and she'd found a poor sap named Ian Pulowski. Now, as far as I know, Ian and Melanie had never met in person prior to their Vegas wedding. But Melanie was reasonably cute, and Ian was very much into her Mormon doomsday prepper vibe.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm looking at. I did not know there was LDSsingles.com.
Yeah.
Of course there is.
There's a dating site for everybody.
Wow.
There's a dating site for people who work in the funeral business.
See, that's cool.
That's fun. But I'm just saying, there's sites for everyone.
Wow.
There's sites for balloon fetishes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Meet up with somebody else who likes
I'm going to look it
getting
up.
horny with balloons.
Pop it off.
Oh, lunars.com. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's a dating app for people that like to have sex with balloons.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Is it just pictures of balloons that they can have sex with?
You know, I think that is interesting because it should just be the Party City website.
Well, after the ceremony between Melanie and this new guy, Ian Pawlowski, who, just keep in mind, this guy just showed up.
Yeah, he's fresh. He's brand new.
Brand new. He don't know nobody. He doesn't know anything about any of this. He just thinks he found like this cute woman on a Mormon single site and he got lucky.
And they have multiple cult members back in Rexburg that could probably pick for this, right?
Yeah.
No, because I think they needed new blood. I think they started getting a little too incestuous. A lot of people were yapping.
Yeah. Well, after the ceremony, Melanie revealed everything to Ian about the cult that he was now unwillingly a part of, from the end times 144,000 prophecy to the light-dark scale, as well as the ever-present threat presented by zombies possessed by demon slugs. But instead of bolting, Ian basically said, "Fuck yeah, sounds cool."
Yeah, of course. Because right before that conversation, he was some dumbass, boring Mormon.
Yeah. He described Melanie's lowdown of the entire Daybell mythology as fun and exciting, saying that it felt as if they'd ripped their entire worldview from a Dungeons & Dragons manual.
It's weird that you'd say that. It's almost like that's exactly what they did.
It's a direct quote from Ian.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's amazing. It's like a live RPG, but instead of rolling dice, you wrap a child's head in duct tape.
But after Melanie Boudreau was done with the world building, things turned very dark very quickly when she got into the actual plot. She told Ian that her ex-husband Brandon was possessed by a demon.
Okay.
And that Alex Cox, the man Ian had just met, was actively trying to murder Brandon as a consequence.
Our witness to the wedding.
Melanie Boudreau, then, oh, that guy.
That guy.
With
With the pumpkin smile.
yeah.
The grubby beaver hands.
All right, fine. I don't like him anyway.
I mean, he's a funny guy. He was super funny. The first thing he asked me, right? As soon as I walked into him, I knew I was gonna like him because he was just like, "Hey, tell me something." He's like, "Hey, do you ever fuck a black chick?" And I was just like, I was like, "No, actually, I've never touched a breast." But if I can see how that angle. It's funny to ask people.
You ever been on lunars.com?
Well, Melanie Boudreau then went even further, telling Ian that Lori Vallow's kids, Tylee and JJ, they'd also become zombies. And Melanie believed that Alex had taken care of them as well. In other words, what started off as a fun LARP for Ian Pawlowski very quickly turned into a terrifying nightmare.
That fun LARP lasted for literally 25 minutes. And then he was just like, "Oh, dearie me. Oh, it just, well, better get to fucking." That's what I would say. If I was Ian, that first thing I'd be like, "Well, let me fuck before I get shot in the head."
So after hearing the plot, Ian Pawlowski texted his ex-wife, whom I assume he still had a good relationship with, and he asked her to Google Melanie Boudreau because Ian couldn't do it himself in Melanie's presence.
That was an excuse to reach out.
Yeah, and Ian's ex-wife did so, and soon called Melanie's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreau, after easily finding his phone number. Eager to talk, Brandon told Ian's ex-wife all about the Daybell cult's attempt to kill him, because they said he was a zombie, although it was really for the insurance money. Then he told her about their already successful murder of Charles Vallow for the same reasons.
What? What?
Ian's ex-wife then called the police, marking yet another person who'd contacted the authorities asking for someone to look into the activities of Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow.
It's like, but I would see Chad Daybell and be like, this guy ain't killing nobody.
That's exactly what happened again and again.
Yeah.
Ian Pawlowski, however, was terrified as to what would happen to him if he pulled out of the marriage. So he
just started this.
So he stayed with it and soon moved to Rexburg along with everyone else. He did continue communicating with his ex-wife, but he hid the texts because he believed if the cult ever found out, he'd be labeled a zombie and killed as well. But Ian was able to stand just 6 days of marriage to Melanie Boudreau. And she spent in those 6 days like making him sit down and listen to Pat podcasts and a Vow podcast.
Yeah, got to get him caught up. You got to get ready for the Lord.
And he's just sitting there sweating.
This
What
was just
did
all.
I do?
God, I never should have agreed to go to that open mic.
And he and his ex-wife, after 6 days, they contacted the detectives from Arizona who were already investigating Lori for both the attempted murder of Brandon Boudreau and the disappearance of her children. They put Ian in contact with the FBI. And after Ian spilled everything he knew, he became an informant, pumping Melanie for any information she might have.
You got to do the flip. Got to do that #1 flip.
Chad and Lori, meanwhile, seemed to have completely given up on the idea of a New Jerusalem. Now that their spouses were dead and Lori's kids were out of the way, they used the near $500,000 Chad had received from Tammy's life insurance policy to rent a house in Hawaii in December of 2019. They all but abandoned Rexburg.
Fucking right out the door.
Out the door.
And that's great advice for anyone who lives in Rexburg. Get out of there.
Yeah, get the fuck out of there.
Get out! Yeah. Now, this blasé behavior about the impending apocalypse was strange to the faithful followers Chad had left behind. And all the people who'd followed Chad, without question, were at long last starting to examine everything with a closer lens. What with the many deaths and disappearances surrounding Chad and Lori, it began to finally dawn on podcaster Melanie Gibb and her Pat boyfriend that they very well might become accessories to murder if they weren't careful.
Now, there's a lot of things as a woman I'll accept. I'll accept friends that kill their children for the sake of the Lord. I'll accept people who kill their husbands, people who kill their boyfriends. But I will not accept responsibility.
So, to cover their asses, Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend began recording every phone call they had with Chad and Lori, hoping that at some point their former spiritual gurus would incriminate themselves.
This is a point I want to give to the police. There are police officers that listen to this show. It's actually kind of funny in that way. But for those of you, just know that if you're going to have someone wear a wire, I think every police station should also have an acting coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
That can teach people how to not act like they're on a wire. Because if you listen to the phone call Melanie Gibb made to Chad and Lori, they're like, "You're on a wire, Melanie. You're recording this call right now, aren't you, Melanie?" And she's like, No, I'm not. I'm simply curious about what happened to JJ. And they're all like, "Tell the police that we don't know where he is."
Yeah, well, she wasn't doing it for the police at this moment.
No.
She's just doing it for herself.
Yeah, because guess what she was really trying to do, Marcus? Get material for her podcast.
See, I was going to give her the benefit of doubt and say not go to prison.
No. No, I feel like that was the second.
Well, during a call on December 8th, 2019, Lori insisted over and over again that JJ was fine and safe. But she refused to elaborate. That was her line over and over again. He's fine and he's safe. I don't need to tell you where he is. Chad also denied ever saying that Tammy's death was foretold, even though he'd related this prophecy to podcaster Melanie Gibb perhaps half a dozen times, if not more.
I meant a spiritual death, like a transformation. Like she was going to become Islamic.
Once Chad and Lori began to realize that their podcast buddies were no longer on their side, Lori began claiming that Melanie Gibb had been influenced by dark spirits.
Oh, yeah, she did the fucking hellish
here
rebuke
it
on
comes.
her. Like, as soon as she was like, she said, "It sounds like," because Melanie said to Lori, "It sounds like you've been lied to by the devil and you have your eyes clouded by the devil." And Lori goes, "Sounds like somebody else has been charmed by the devil." Like, she just says the same thing back.
Yeah.
And Melanie Gibb's like, "I can't do anything to counter that."
Well, actually, she did have something to counter that. She went nuclear, and she called Chad and Lori the Mormon equivalent of the Antichrist, known as Corey Whore.
More like Lori whore.
Yeah, thank you. And you can get your discounts on Quince using the code GLORYHORROR90.
Now, once the Antichrist came into the conversation, Lori hung up and never spoke to Melanie Gibb again. Gibb could have therefore easily ended up on the cult's hit list as another zombie.
Well, she definitely was.
But the noose was tightening around Chad and Lori's collective neck more and more with each passing day. See, Gibb got proactive, and she took the recording of her last phone call with Chad and Lori to the police. And based off Chad's suspicious comments concerning the subject of his wife and her foretold death, police were able to get a court order to exhume Tammi Daybell's body for a full autopsy, done entirely clandestinely and without Chad's knowledge. Very quickly, investigators noticed that there were several blunt injuries consistent with being restrained and or suffocated to death. But to this day, we have no idea if it was Chad, Alex Cox, or both of them who directly participated in Tammy's murder. Tammy's body was in, out, and back in the ground in just 8 hours. But by the end of it, investigators had determined that Tammy's death was indeed suspicious, although they did not yet have enough evidence to arrest Chad for her death.
Cremation. Cremate your loved ones when you kill them.
He tried. He tried, Eddie.
He tried with one.
Not with Tammy.
Well, the other
Tammy,
two...
he could have just, they said, okay, no autopsy. Then say, great, cremate her.
There's a little...
It's so easy.
There's just the smallest part of me that thought she might want to see me be the boss and wake up.
Now, when it comes to the murders, both successful and attempted, we have evidence that Chad, Lori, and Lori's brother Alex, they were involved in every one of them, but we're totally in the dark as far as the hows go. The reason why we don't know much is because Alex Cox, the assassin who tied it all together and probably carried out each murder with his own hands, he did not survive past December 2019. And it's possible, however unlikely, that Chad and Lori might have had something to do with it.
I don't know how they didn't.
If it was just natural causes.
There is...
How?
I'll get into
They
it.
talked
Such a
about it.
coincidence.
It is a coincidence.
The biggest everything. There's been no coincidences in this entire fucking story.
It is a horrific sticking point. It really is this thing where, same, because I refuse to believe it was natural causes, but we just don't have the proof.
Yeah, we don't. Well, that's the thing. It might be natural causes. It might not be natural causes, but we don't have any proof that Chad and Lori specifically were involved in it. Let's get into it.
Please.
See, after the marriage to Zulema in Las Vegas, Alex moved back to Gilbert, Arizona, where Zulema still lived, because Chad and Lori were already on their way to living their true fantasy life in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, they took the check in peace.
Yeah.
So, they're like, I thought we were all going. I thought that Rexburg was about to pop off.
Yeah.
But you guys just jump ship and are literally, the photos and video of Chad and Lori having the vacation of their lives in Hawaii. Love and life. They stayed there in a resort for a month. They blew a bunch of money. She's reading Visions of Glory by the pool.
Yeah.
How disgusting.
Yeah.
So they fucking left. And so now he's like, you could see this moment being like, oh.
Yeah, and they're like, go to... What
with your wife.
What about me? Yeah, go with your wife. Go where? Gilbert.
Go with Zulema, your beloved Gilbert.
Yeah.
And then he can go, and Zulema can be like, thank you, Alex. I'm so happy when you take the gum out when we kiss. I'm so happy that you decided to change your underwear.
But according to Zulema, Alex spent a lot of time after the wedding talking about how Chad and Lori were setting him up to be the fall guy for some mysterious thing Chad and Lori had been doing.
Have you heard of Moroni coin? You're trying to set me up with a rug pull.
Before Zulema could find out what this mysterious thing was, Alex was found dead on the floor of his and Zulema's bathroom, covered in feces.
Not feces.
With pink foam coming from his mouth.
Pink foam.
With this pink foam, quite similar to the pink foam Chad described coming out of his wife Tammy's mouth the night she died.
Do we know, how if you die, what would produce pink foam coming out of your mouth?
Poison.
Yeah.
Yep.
Possibly, yeah.
But did they give him an autopsy?
Yes, they did.
And no poison.
No poison. None whatsoever.
We don't know. It's very strange.
Well, just a few days before his death, Alex had driven to Mexico to score some illegal prescription drugs. And investigators believe that Alex used these drugs to die by suicide to protect Lori and Chad. Others, however, believe that Alex may have come to the realization that he'd murdered his brother-in-law, his niece, and his nephew, all so his sister could be free to marry some doughy asshole, and he couldn't live with what he'd done.
It should have been me. Oh, how I wish I was on that beach, getting sand on my balls, making sex to my sister.
And now I'm just stuck in old New Jerusalem.
Sucking on the face of dumb, stupid Zulema.
My sister's sitting there in Hawaii.
Getting finger banged by the Lord.
Loving New Jerusalem, too.
So now that he's dead, we're done with this, right?
No! Fuck Alex! Fuck Alex!
But after a thorough autopsy, it was ruled that Alex died from blood clots and high blood pressure, hereditary conditions that had killed other members of the Cox family. So it's hard to say exactly what the circumstances behind Alex's death really were.
I mean, it is stressful. Everything that he fucking did could have just given him a heart attack.
It could have. That's what I mean. Now, by this point, authorities have been asking Lori to produce her kids for months. But in December 2019, they decided that if Lori was going to keep stonewalling them, the only option they had was to go public. So the authorities pulled out all the stops with a full media blitz.
Including us!
Yeah, attacking Lori and Chad simultaneously. With Lori, they hammered the fact that she was totally uncooperative with telling police where her kids were. But Chad's involvement here was the secret sauce that made this whole story even more treacherous and indecent.
Ooh.
Police finally revealed that they had exhumed Tammi Daybell's body and had ruled her death suspicious.
Ooh.
And they believe that the cases of Lori's missing kids and Chad's dead wife may be linked. Chad and Lori, of course, discovered all this through newspaper headlines. They read all about it from their romantic villa in Hawaii, and they were, I'd imagine, simultaneously terrified and excited that their little cult had just become one of the biggest news stories in the world.
You don't think that they'll check the pet cemetery, do you?
No. There's no pets. Are they looking for pets?
Did you leave that? Is that old man who tells people to not go down that road still there? Because if he's still there, then I don't think they're going to go down that road. He's very convincing.
Honestly, I gave him $10 to stay there and tell the police to not go down that road. I told him it actually really helped me.
Then I sliced his mouth open with a scalpel.
He hates kids. He fucking hates kids. You could see in the footage, the only way to describe it, I really wish that you could see it, so you could see the little smiles on their faces. Like, they have this, like, we're so popular.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about us. And they are so thrilled. Because I do think in some way they think this will now kind of, this is utterly convoluted, and I don't know why they think this, but I think that they think that this is proof that it's working, that it's going to happen.
Or that, it's the possibility also that the word is going to get out about their religion, about their, unique view of Mormonism. People are going to see the light.
And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, that's amazing. Of course Chad Daybell's God.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's not at all what happened. Almost immediately, the Mormons who'd spent years supporting and believing Chad and Lori, they began to cut ties. The founders of Preparing a People, the Preparing a People podcast network.
Yeah.
They issued a statement denying they were a cult. And it's always bad when you have to issue a statement denying you're a cult.
It's a hard day for the PR squad.
Yeah. And they quickly distanced themselves from Chad and Lori by removing all of their podcast appearances.
Now that's a pap smear.
Truly.
Yeah.
Hey, very good.
EddieTunes.com.
Yeah.
The only person who came to Chad and Lori's side was the founder of the neo-fundamentalist Mormon message board, Avow, who publicly declared that Chad and Lori were innocent. This guy even allowed Chad and Lori to publish a statement on his website in which they claimed to be victims of bad press who were only trying to protect JJ and Tylee from so-called evil forces.
Protect them from bad press? Is this the opening of Spider-Man the musical? Like, no, this is not. Yeah, you're being accused of murder.
Yeah, no, bad press.
Yeah, I get it. No, it's a good role.
A bad notice can kill a whole show. You
Tell
know?
me about it.
No,
Like, I was in Heroes Stillborn. I know.
Yeah, it was Stillborn. It was more the CGI in that, though.
Yes, it really was the overspending on things that we didn't need to spend money on.
Yeah. And not one sandwich in the whole fucking show. You have to call your show Heroes. Fucking put some sandwiches in it.
Yeah,
you want me to keep sticking around and come back for episode 2?
Eddie,
put a fucking sandwich in the show.
Eddie, do you have any idea how hard I fought for the fat asshole demo? Do you have any idea how hard I went in the paint for them? Just throw a sub in there. Throw a fucking eggplant park.
Now, by January 16th, 2020, the state of Idaho filed a court order demanding that Lori produce JJ and Tylee within 5 days. The deadline obviously came and went, and the media attention only increased when Dateline aired a 2-hour special called Where Are the Children? Appropriately, they aired it on Valentine's Day. But finally, time ran out for Lori Vallow. On February 20th, 2020, 2020. And this is a month after she blew past the court date where she was supposed to produce the kids. Lori was arrested in Hawaii, where she was charged with a whole host of crimes, from desertion of a child to contempt of court. Chad, however, stuck to the script. While Lori was in jail in Hawaii awaiting extradition to Idaho, Chad talked to her for an hour every day, assuring her this was all a part of the celestial plan and that the world was still definitely coming to an end on July 22nd, 2020.
Not a day later.
Make sure you get the keys to your cell, because when the world ends and you're in the cell, and you can't get out.
No one's going to
we're
feed
gonna
you.
Be fucked.
Yep. You're going to have to break out.
Now, things were really starting to cook for Lori Vallow, but she was extradited to Idaho in March of 2020, which was the same month that COVID-19 brought the entire world to a halt. And now we're going to pause for a 4-hour series on COVID-19.
Pause. Wow, what an amazing journey that was. Thank you. Oh, wow. I missed it. Me too. Yeah, me too.
I miss my puzzles.
Well, Lori's march towards justice was therefore put on hold, but it did give investigators more time to turn their attention towards Chad Daybell and the death of Lori's fourth husband, Charles Vallow. So after combing through all of Chad and Lori's texts, both the ones they sent to each other and the ones they sent to other people, investigators found the absolutely idiotic text that Chad had sent to his wife the day after Tylee's murder, the one about cremating the raccoon and burying it in the pet cemetery. Now, investigators knew that this text was sent the day after Tylee was seen alive for the last time, during the trip to Yellowstone with her uncle Alex and her mother Lori. From there, investigators looked at Alex Cox's locations using his phone data. And when they put the locations and the stupid over-explaining text together, they decided they'd better take a look at Chad Daybell's backyard.
Yeah, kind of just sounds like they're all looking at his butt.
No, they did when he went to prison.
Don't you have to?
Yeah.
See, it's wide and gaping, much like the tunnel to heaven. Pure whitest snow.
Go ahead, take a look in there. See if you can't find heaven, little boy.
Come on, see if you there. See Jesus inside the little nodule inside of my butthole that makes me shoot wine. I'm shooting wine, folks. I wish Alex was here because then I could give him that material.
Yeah.
Ah, poor
Except
Alex.
he'd say WHINE.
Yeah, God knows. He's the comedian.
And so, on June 9th, 2020, the FBI and Rexburg police brought cadaver dogs to Chad's home. Chad let them onto his property, then plopped down in his Chevy Equinox. He nervously watched investigators and kept getting in and out of his car while running his fingers through his hair, acting about as guilty as he possibly could.
Don't touch me! You can't. No, you can't. That's totally good. Just no, you don't want to. You want to leave that corn alone if you want.
My dogs are buried there. My 25 dogs.
You wouldn't have it, but do not disturb. That is where Hamlet, the gerbil, is buried.
Well, before long, the dogs had located the first burial site, that of JJ Vallow. And just by coincidence, Lori had chosen that moment to call Chad from prison. That's the big coincidence in this story.
Yeah.
This is truly is the big coincidence in the story. Thank you so much for including this.
Of
This
course.
is my favorite. This is my literal, my main hit. This is my don't stop believing of this whole fucking talk.
Oh no, I love this call so much because this is the call between the two of them, because I love calls when people realize how fucked they are.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's so much fun. We're just going to listen to 15 seconds of it because there's a lot of mumbling and you can't understand what Chad's saying most of the time without subtitles. But here is Chad and Lori realizing that their lives are over forever.
Hi, babe.
Hello.
Are you okay?
So they're searching the property.
The house right now?
Yeah. I'm at MS.
Okay, that's his just.
God,
Yeah.
It's they're searching the property right now. And so, because she keeps saying, because it's funny, she's like, so they're staying inside. Like, if you keep listening to the call, so they're staying inside the house? He's like, no. They're checking the pet cemetery. Like, he says this thing, and she's just like, it'll be okay. Is there anything I can do from here?
You're going to get a call from my lawyer later.
Yeah.
Like, okay, babe. Like, it's that whole, just, oh, hey, are you okay? But that's the weird thing about it, is that it is that same,
It's girlfriend talk.
It's girlfriend voice. Yeah, it's that same voice that your girlfriend or your wife gives you, when you're in great distress. That's the funny thing, is that you can actually tell she really loves him. Because, she's genuinely concerned for him and genuinely wants to make him feel better.
But is she not just concerned with herself?
Yes.
I think partly, but I think she's concerned with herself, but she's also concerned about him.
Where you hear concern, I hear pure delusion.
Yeah.
I think that she is talking as if it's normal
Yeah.
because it makes her, it makes Chad feel better. Because Chad doesn't want
That's what
anybody
I mean.
concerned. But it's not out of concern. It's about keeping Chad together so that he doesn't act like a big fat bitch in front of the police.
And that's exactly what he did next.
Yes.
Once Chad hung up the phone, he could see that something was happening. That's about the time they discovered JJ's body. So, just like he'd done before, Chad tried running away in his Equinox.
To the Mormon-mobile!
Cops quickly chased him down, and since Chad didn't have the stones for a chase, he surrendered. And finally, after all this time, both Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow were in jail.
Yay! We got him. See, my main thing is that I do believe that God has chose me to lead the 144,000. Yeah, there are a lot of rules to break, but one thing I will not do is speed. Because Mormons don't speed, no matter what's going on.
And when you find a boy-shaped dog in my pet cemetery,
You will, first of all, call the newspapers, because what a fine for you. Because also, if you don't look at him for too long, he starts singing and dancing. Hello, my baby.
Oh, my ragtime. Yeah.
You gotta believe me.
Well, once Chad was arrested and the discovery of both bodies became public, the Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow story grew to even greater proportions. Before long, all the details about Chad and Lori's beliefs about zombies and the end of the world became public as well, and Lori Vallow was finally given the infamous designation of the Doomsday Mom. Now, the case for murder here was difficult to prove because investigators believed that Alex had been the one who'd actually murdered the kids. But after the now former cult member Zulema Pastanis obtained immunity, and
Gotta do that flip.
and podcaster Melanie Gibb really started talking, police were able to charge Chad and Lori with the first-degree murder of Lori's kids in May of 2021. Soon after, Lori Vallow was also charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in regards to the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. And both Lori and Chad were charged with the murder of Tammi Daybell. And so, by June of 2024, Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow had been found guilty on every single charge. And while Lori received life without parole, Chad Daybell is currently sitting on death row in Idaho.
Do you think that if he gets electrocuted in the chair, does he turn into French fries?
I mean, he does look like a potato.
He would
He
be.
does,
I feel like if you zap him, he might smell delicious.
Yeah, he might. I really wonder what his last words are going to be.
Dear, I'm pooping.
Oh, he gets strapped into the the lethal injection. Because I'd imagine lethal injection is how they're going to kill him.
Yeah.
I wonder what his last words are going to be.
Probably just something like, "Okay, Jesus, now, now, Jesus, go."
Anytime,
Now, Jesus, all right, come on, time to go. I know you love drama, but let's just kind of get it done. We only got a minute left.
Yep. Completely by coincidence, Dateline revealed while we were recording these episodes that Lori Vallow had agreed to give them an interview, her first since her podcast appearances, and certainly the only one since she was arrested, charged, and convicted. This interview was released just a week ago, and after watching it, I can say with conviction that prison has not changed Lori Vallow one iota. And she still believes that absolutely everything we've said about their mythology is true.
You know, I was convinced. Finally, you know what I needed was her rambling for an hour to Keith Morrison and not saying any details.
Yeah.
And I was a believer.
Yeah. Me too.
She also had some filler migration.
Yeah. Filler migration?
That's what they call it.
When she gets filler and her face looks all fucked up?
Yeah, that's your face, your filler migration. It's because she hasn't been able to upkeep it, so it's been sliding.
Oh.
Also, she puts hair on the top of her head like fucking Bam Bam. She does this stupid, cute thing where she does like a scrunchie and stuff, and she makes like prison makeup. She looks like a fucking evil clown.
Of course.
She does. No. Well, she used the same tactic on Keith Morrison that she used on the cops when they showed up at the townhouse. It's this brick wall of rambling where she spent the majority of the hour and a half that they had together. That's all the police would give Keith Morrison. She spent the majority just rambling on about Tylee and not really saying anything in particular. So when you actually watch the episode, it's maybe 4.5 minutes of Lori Vallow talking over. They stretch it over a fucking hour and a half.
Sucks.
It's maybe 4 minutes of her talking.
I actually thought that Dateline kind of dropped the ball on it. To be
Well, what
honest,
are they supposed to do?
release the entire uncut interview.
Oh, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
I don't.
Yeah.
I want the chicken shit.
That
I
is true. He
literally
does want the chicken shit.
I want the chicken shit. I want to hear every word out of her mouth. I want to hear it. I want to hear what she has to say for herself. Because what she said in her sentencing reaction, because he gave her statement at the end of sentencing, her theory is that Tylee killed JJ accidentally and then committed suicide
a month earlier.
Yes. A month earlier. Exactly. Yeah. But that's her that's the only thing she has to say.
Yeah. Well, but she did say that she still believes that both she and Chad are going to be exonerated any day now.
Again, Jesus loves an arc.
Yeah, he does. Well, what she said is that Jesus, she's been to heaven multiple times. Is what
good.
she said that in the interview. Jesus showed her when she was in heaven a vision of the future in which Chad and Lori were together, and they were together outside of the prison walls. So therefore, that means that Chad and Lori will be exonerated one day.
Well, you're also not going to get exonerated if no one's trying to exonerate you.
Yeah.
Well, no, but Jesus is going to come down. He's going to kill all of us with his machine guns.
Yeah.
And then he's going to lift them up.
And then Chad's finally going to turn into the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Exactly. Jesus
Nobody
has
stepped on a church in my town.
He says, apparently, though, Jesus has the magic ability to take what can only be described as oatmeal on the sides of his thighs and his whole body and push them up in the muscles.
Yeah.
Jesus is going to fucking body by Jesus.
Yeah. And Lori also says that her and Tammi are friends. And
They're sister wives, basically.
And that Tammi visits Lori in prison, and they have conversations. And she also says that Jesus visits her in prison. And she does just ramble on. Like she talks about how, if I ever had a bumper sticker, I always had I had this joke that if I had this bumper sticker, then I would say Jesus loves you, but he loves me more. And I just thought that was really cute. And she has this fucking demeanor about her that's infuriating and insane because because she's talking the whole time about how she has been falsely accused, falsely convicted,
But
falsely
she's
tried.
smiling and laughing and giggling and
So
just,
bubbly, so flirty, like the whole time, flirting with Keith Morrison.
You think you know about that, Keith? What do you know about that, Keith? Were you there, Keith? Like doing that thing where, and then her cousin, I was listening to the Mormon Stories reaction to it, and I thought it was interesting as her cousin was like, that's actually the Lori I know very well.
Yeah.
She's like, she used to do this thing where it's like it is a hot girl from a small town thing where they both, I've noticed it. I love everyone I've met all the years, but sometimes you ever meet as a professional entertainer, when you go out into the smaller areas of the country, you meet other people that are the large fish in their small worlds.
Yeah.
And they sometimes like to relate to you by making fun of you, saying mean things to you, but also kind of sucking up to you at the same time.
Yeah, stop doing that.
Yes. Lori Vallow does exactly that. She both flirts and negs.
Yeah. It's very strange.
Yes.
But it's her go-to move.
She's the star.
Yes, she's very much the star here.
That's the thing, is that Keith Morrison, she's in a room with Keith Morrison. Keith Morrison's he's taking away her attention.
Yeah. And she is also very delusional.
Oh, yes.
So delusional, in fact, that she half joked in the interview about the possibility of being a guest on Dancing with the Stars after her release, as if the world is going to be sorry that they ever doubted her, that she'll become a beloved public figure who makes television appearances.
Didn't they do that with like 3 different Republican shitheads?
Yeah, well, they did it.
They've done that already.
They have brought...
Carol Baskin.
Yeah.
At least she knew how to get away with murder.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I guess she believes that that it's really not that far off, is
It's
it?
really not.
It's really not that far-fetched.
If she does get released
No.
by Mitt Romney in 2028.
Yeah, and then she'll be on Dancing with the Stars and then get extra days at Disneyland.
Yes. She just can't show most of her legs. She'd have to wear a very long skirt.
Sarah Palin. That was the controversial one on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh,
sure.
yeah, and Sean Spicer.
Sean Spicer, yeah.
Now, this interview...
Yeah, right? Is that fun?
Yeah. Now, this interview coincided with the beginning of Lori's latest trial, the one concerning the murder of Charles Vallow. It's going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
And Lori, like her father before her, is representing herself with a face full of, as you said, clownish prison makeup. In other words, it's a fair bet to say that Lori Vallow's delusions will never end. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's not entirely her fault. Now, yes, Lori is a narcissist of the highest order, and that probably would have been true no matter what religion she was. But when narcissism meets Mormonism, it's like fire meeting gasoline. Because of Mormonism's built-in improvisational nature, any LDS member with a touch of evil and a big heaping of arrogance, they have a ready-made cult kit that they can pick up and use at any moment. And we've seen this happen dozens upon dozens upon dozens of times.
Yeah, Spun is on episode 18 of Mormon-based crimes. Like, it's huge. And also, again, I don't know what to say. It's their natural arrogance. The Mormon aloofness, this idea that they are better than us, also feeds this.
Yeah.
Well, also, they don't have to deal with the outside society. They've been given, like, full states, to, like, exist in.
Play in. You can go play in this little area.
And what's worse is that it doesn't take a lot of these people to do a lot of damage. The number of ardent followers that Chad Daybell had, it didn't even approach double digits. Yet he and Lori together were able to use Mormon ideology to justify the murder of 4 people, including 2 children. Furthermore, fringe Mormon voices like Pap and Avow, along with all those NDE and End Times authors, they're constantly adding their own bits of lore to the Mormon storyline. And the more stuff there is to build from, the easier it is for people to spin off into their own dark corners, where all manner of evil lurks.
Yeah, that's how we're going to end up with like a Spider Dog television show. You know what I mean? Where they make fucking, oh God, the new James Bond series are going to be horrible.
Well, there's already fucking Spider Ham.
I know, but Spider-Ham is fine. I like that.
Well, Spider-Ham's fantastic. Spider-Ham's been around since the 80s.
Yeah,
I used to love Spider-Ham
Spider-Ham.
comics.
Okay.
You don't sound convinced.
It's not for him.
I mean, it should be, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is true. But that's all to say that religion in this country is becoming more dangerous by the day, more sinister, more violent, and it's not just Mormonism. There's an edge to Christianity at large that's only gotten sharper over the last few decades, and I'm not exactly sure what the rest of us are supposed to do about it. What I can say, though, is that while it is your choice to follow whatever religion you want, it's your responsibility as a human being to think for yourself, especially if the people in charge start asking or telling you to do things or believe in things that you know aren't right. And for some of you, that day might come very soon. So in the end, all I ask is for you to think about what the people in charge are saying. Because if a religion or a movement tells you that you and yours are special, that you and yours are good while everyone else is evil, then they really aren't that far off from the narcissism that created Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow.
Very nice.
And I'll say that's why I'm so glad we did this series, because we fixed it. And I just think it's one final nail in the coffin to organized religion.
Yeah. No,
That's it. Party it up, boys.
Yep, we're taking down this $500 billion fucking massive capitalist system.
And we're freeing the nipple. That's what we're fucking doing, boys. Wow, we finally did this story, and now it can be out of our system.
Yeah, okay, now it can be done. Now it's gone, and we can move on to other things.
I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening to our show. Thank you guys being cool. We got, obviously, there's the new, what's it called?
Sirius XM Podcast Plus.
Sirius XM Podcast Plus. You could do everything you want with it. And there's also, you could do is that great? Is that a good promo?
Yeah, people love it.
Yeah. And then what the main thing is to know is that we have some really good series coming up. And we also have a new extended sort of running series that we're going to be introducing vaguely soon as well. But next week, we've got some, you're going to like a fan favorite of ours. You're going to like it. Because guess what month it is? It's March.
Yeah.
And it's down. Right?
Yes.
So you're going to like it. We're very, very excited. This one we're going for, these are Earthbound.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly.
Mostly Earthbound, which I'm very excited for.
Actually, one of the main contenders is specifically not Earthbound.
Yes.
They are,
It's even in the name.
yeah, it's very much in the name. Yeah.
It's gonna be good. And then we got a bunch of great series.
Yeah, and not just that, we got a bunch of new fucking shows on the tour, man.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I got it up right here. We got in July 12th, Salt Lake City. We're going to go check on our people. Make sure they're okay.
Yeah, I would honestly.
Yeah.
What I want to say at our Salt Lake City, it's like I need to see as much fishnet. We need to get this going, y'all. We need to make that a fucking full-on goth night.
Hey, we know we played many shows in Salt Lake City before. I fucking love playing Salt Lake City.
It's got some of the best crowds we've ever had.
Yeah, because they go hard.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people like Exmos, people who aren't Mormon at all in Salt Lake City, yeah, they push back. Pretty fucking hard.
Excited. I've never been to Salt Lake City. It looks beautiful. Also, August 8th, we're going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina. August 9th, the very next night, we're going to be in Durham, North Carolina. September 20th, St. Paul, Minnesota. October 11th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. October 25th, Oakland, California. November 29th, just after Thanksgiving, we're going to be in Cleveland, Ohio.
I love Cleveland.
Yeah, me too.
And then December 12th and 13th, Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, I love Portland as well.
Back to back.
No, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're
Yeah.
really, we're having more fun than ever, and we like it.
Yeah.
Right. And then tonight, if you're listening to this early enough, come out to the Ryman, baby. There's still a couple tickets available. We're going to have some great show for you. And then on Sunday, of course, you can catch Henry and I at the Nazi Scientist Center in Huntsville, Alabama.
Hey, we made him not a Nazi anymore.
Technically, yeah.
And Werner von Braun, as we've learned, he wasn't like that enthused about the Nazis.
Also,
He was pretty. He definitely may not have been enthused about the ideology, but he was definitely enthused about the workforce they provided.
It's just about where you get the rockets.
Also, want to throw this out into the world. If they ever make the Chad Daybell movie, Tim Heidecker.
Wow.
That is
great.
inspired casting, my friend.
great.
Absolutely inspired casting.
Who's Lori?
Oh, I couldn't figure that one out
I
yet.
gotta think about that because I think that it would be
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh yeah, all 275 pounds of blonde pumping action. That's what I like. I like a woman who looks like a rectangle. All right, fuckers. We'll see you next week. Patreon.com, all the other stuff is twitch.tv/LPL TV. Last podcast left. You're gonna get it. All right, hail Satan.
Again.
Hail Invasive Species, my tour of Florida. Go get tickets. I'll be in Jacksonville, Panama City, and Tallahassee next weekend.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Goodbye, y'all.